Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 225th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me this evening so far, we have Tommy, the Guru Allen, Andy Patterson, and Dave, the Hater Lowback. If anybody wants to jump on the call to make their feelings known, put their views across to the listeners, then hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, and we'll send you the Hangout link. And you can join us, let us know what you think about any of the fights over the in the next few weeks or so. Only one place to start this week, guys. That's going to be Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, where Saul Canelo Alvarez posted a wide, unanimous decision victory over Lineal. The scores of 120-108 replicated ×3 from Adelaide Bird, Dave Moretti, and Glenn Feldman. Pretty poor stuff from what I could see, guys. Chavez Jr. boiled down to a skeletal 164.5 pounds. He was never really that good in the first place. So, Tommy, do you want to take it up and let us know what you thought of the fight?
That's just another great victory for Saul Canelo Alvarez. We all know how good Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is. That's what it is, man. He was coming into the fight. I thought Canelo looked really, really sharp. I was impressed with him. I'm not going to blame the weight. I know Chavez, he's never been an elite fighter. I think he's a good fighter. He's never been an elite fighter. I think last night he came up against a fighter who is definitely elite world class now. Any time that Chavez did try to throw punches or that, he was getting ripped through 3-4 punch combinations with big power and that. Alvarez kind of frightened him into no throwing in that very early in the fight. I thought it was it looked really good. I can't wait for this fight in September now. The GGG fight's got to be excellent. I thought it was a really good card last night. That main event, but we got what we wanted in the end, didn't we?
Did we though? Didn't they get the fucking fight we were promised though?
No, we didn't get the fight last night that we were. We didn't get the fight last night that we were promised. I actually thought that Chavez could have made it competitive at times. I thought he would have been stronger late in the fight. That's usually when he's trained properly. He's usually very good late. We've seen him coming on strong against the likes of Andy Lee, Sergio Martinez, and that. But I think last night, Canelo just a level above him. Any time that Chavez did try to throw punches, he was just getting beasted with 3 and 4 shots, powerful shots at a time. So kept him in his shell.
I think Steve's dropped off a call, but to try and get his sound fixed. Donnie, you want to take it up, mate?
Yeah, well, while we're waiting for Steve. No, I was just going to say, I mean, what got me about this fight was that, I looked at how Chavez looked on the scales, and he actually looked like he didn't, like he wasn't emaciated. He didn't look bad when he got
until he looked closer. Until he looked closer to him.
Pardon?
He didn't look bad until he actually looked at him.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, maybe people can disagree, but anyways,
simply trying to make weight.
I was so psyched when he came in, and I thought he looked pretty good, and I was like, and he made the weight in the first try, and I was like, he's taking this fight so seriously because, he knows it's his whole legacy, and he wants to make his dad proud, and he probably wants to be able to walk the streets of Mexico with his head held high, no matter what happens. He's put his all into training for this fight. And tonight he may not be as good of a fighter as Canelo, but I think that he's going to lay it all on the line and just really go for broke, take 2 punches to land 1. I truly believe that's what would happen. And instead he just did 0. And it's almost hard to believe because this is a guy who really did, fight with a lot of heart when he fought against, say, Sebastian Zbik or Andy Lee. And even against Martinez when he was totally outclassed, he still was trying up until the very end to win. And as a matter of fact, at the end of that fight, of course, he did almost pull off some magic. But I mean, the thing is, I just can't even believe the total lack of urgency. I mean, if you fucking kill yourself in the gym for weeks and weeks, he got into training camp early for that fight, for this fight against Canelo. I mean, I just thought that, he put in all this effort and then to just get into the ring and just totally lay an egg. I mean, to totally put up a shit performance with no sense of urgency, no sense of. And you could say, well, what if he was worried about what was coming back at him? But Andy Lee has one of the hardest right hands in all of boxing. That punch, puts people out, cold. I mean, it's not like he's ever been in with a hard puncher before. So, I mean, I just don't understand, like, where was the urgency? Where was the need to try to, make something happen in the fight? He just seemed content to just pick up his paycheck and go the rounds. And, I mean, for all that he went through to get the fight, for all that he went through in camp, it blew my mind. And it was very, very disappointed to see such a uninspired performance.
He's not that great anyway, but he just dead at the weight.
Maybe.
He was never great. He was never. I wouldn't even say he was even all that good a fighter. He really wasn't. I mean, for years, people complained about him getting all those slots in top ranked shows, or like some of the Pacquiao undercards or whatever it was. But he was never all that good. Just trading off his dad's name, and then he's as I say, he's trying to make weight, and he's fucking put in that effort. And even when he did try to attack, it was like single shots, and you knew Canelo was just going to walk right through him.
He has a chin, and he has a huge size advantage, and that's about it. He's garbage. He's always been garbage. And last night he was a huge disgrace. I actually thought he looked bad on the scales, and even worse in the fight. I don't think he rehydrated that well. To me, he didn't look that much bigger. Canelo seemed to have the fuller face, the fuller body, and Chavez Jr. Still looked like a Holocaust victim. I mean, he looked like crap, and his performance was crap, and his heart was crap, and his trainer Nacho, the overrated Mexican guru, he was crap. Everything was crap last night. The whole event was trash. It was a $70 commercial for Golovkin Canelo, and it was a complete ripoff. I feel like I need a refund, and I didn't pay for it. It was garbage. I hated it.
Well, Dave, at least you don't have to be sucking any dick anytime soon.
That's right. I knew I wouldn't. That's why I made that promise, because I knew he was going to fuck off. He's garbage. He's terrible. It would have been an absolute shock if he even won like more than 2 rounds last night, which he didn't. He didn't even win one, even though Barry Jones decided to give him the 9th out of pity. It was awful.
Fucking deep throat Dave.
Nope, not happening. He didn't earn it. Now that's what he should have been really fighting for. Maybe that's why he didn't try, actually.
I think it's hard to say he's complete garbage. If you look at the names in that, he's beat obviously the likes of Rubio, Andy Lee, Zebek, and that. Zebek was a close fight, actually scored that a draw, but he's beaten guys that clearly aren't garbage. I don't think he's, as I said, I don't think he's an elite fighter, but I think he's proved that he's not a garbage fighter. I always thought he was underrated. I never thought he was going to be a top fighter, but I thought he's definitely, when he was in that middleweight mix, I definitely thought he was maybe top 5, top 6 at that point. So to me, that's really not a garbage fighter, eh? I think he's a good fighter. I'm not going to say he's a very good fighter or that, but I think he's been really underrated over the years.
But middleweight back then was shit anyway.
But if you look at the likes of Rubio and that, who put David Lemieux and that away, Ken, there's a lot of fans not quite high on David Lemieux and that these days, and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say he's any better or any worse than these guys. He's actually proved that.
Well, Andy, let's try and work out what went wrong for Chavez Jr. We had a question in from Marvelous Mendo. He says, after Chavez Jr.'s performance, his tactics, and his explanation of how his corner got it all wrong, and most importantly, that retirement check, he's no doubt cashing in as we speak. Do you think he will or can do the diet again for more money? Do you think we might see him back on this stage again?
Well, he doesn't really need to, does he? I mean, he's earned really good money over the course of his career. $3 million there last night to Canelo's $5. If it was me, what is he now? I don't know how many fights he's had. It was no something like 55 fights or something like that. I mean, he doesn't really need to fight. Just piss off, leave us alone. He's trading off your dad's name. We've had enough of you. Okay, you're a light heavyweight, and that's all you are. You boiled down, you took the risk, you got paid, you put up that effort. It was shit. End of the story. Just draw a line under that career, and just please fuck off.
His dad's going to be getting a DNA test right now.
Oh, fucking without doubt.
He could. This is not the first time I've said this about a Chavez Jr. performance either, and I got this weird sense of deja vu last night as I realized, shot to shit, old man, like 60-year-old Chavez Sr. could get in the ring and still do much better than his son right now.
Tommy, we've had quite a few questions in regarding pay-per-view and stuff. Donnie's just left a call there. One was in from Luke. Tommy, he says, do you think that Hearn and Sky, well, more or less Sky, this will try to make Triple G against Canelo a pay-per-view in the UK?
Nah, no chance. No chance, mate. We've seen some big, massive fights over the years. The likes, say, De La Hoya against Mayweather. We've had the likes, say, we've had Pacquiao and Mayweather. Was Pacquiao Mayweather pay-per-view over here? I was actually in the States when that was going on. I don't think it was it?
Pacquiao Mayweather was pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Was it pay-per-view in the UK? Anyway, the likes of De La Hoya, Mayweather and that, they weren't Manny Pacquiao against De La Hoya and that, they weren't a pay-per-view. To me, they're bigger fights than this, so I actually can't see this being a pay-per-view fight over here. I'm not even sure it'll actually be on Sky. It might actually be on BT Box Nation.
Andy, I missed what you were saying, obviously, because I was just changing appliances there. But, I mean, Chavez Jr., man, I mean, I thought it was pretty poor going, them getting him down to the weight and stripping him down, because he was never that good in the first place, but especially not when he looked like completely emaciated, and he just didn't throw a thing. And the thing was, Andy, his tactics were all over the place, because he was leaning in head first, and he just didn't do anything. If you're going to lean in close to Canelo, you've got to throw punches, otherwise he's going to hit you repeatedly.
Well, you can see he was a taller man, and the fact is that he leaned forward, he just negated his height, and never used his reach as well. So, it's just simple fact is he had absolutely nothing. I mean, you should see it for the off when Canelo was throwing in the lead left hooks and stuff, leaping in behind those shots. You know, he was basically kind of like ducking away, and one, single shots just couldn't follow it up, and Canelo just basically had his way with him. So I mean, as Tommy says, he was maybe top 5, top 6 back when he was rated the middleweight. But if you look at the middleweight rankings back then, Daniel Gill, Felix Sturm, Macklin, Protzka, Chavez, Zibik, Pirog. I mean, Pirog didn't become a mirage. Nandam, Martin Murray, then Golovkin came in at number 10. And you still had the likes of Peter Quillen kicking round about at that time as well. So the division, I wouldn't say then, as it is now, is any greater. But as I say, Chavez, I really don't know what the game plan was. The simple fact is it was to make weight, save as much of that purse as possible. Even though if he was a single ounce overweight, he left nothing to chance there last night. 164.5, and he came in at 164. That was just basically making sure he saved his 3 million, because if he's an ounce overweight, he was losing $1 million off that. It would have been interesting to see if he actually came in like 3.5 pounds overweight. What would have happened there? Fighting for absolutely fuck all. Fight would have been called off. Just the whole thing was shit. I know Tommy thinks it was a good show. I actually thought it was actually pretty fucking garbage. Diaz sent me to sleep. Literally sent me to sleep. It was good to see Matthysse. The Matthysse one was decent. Lemieux kicked the shit out of a guy who we knew basically anytime he stepped up in class, he got handled. And then that there last night was basically a build-up to another pay-per-view, which is a fight we all want to see at the end of the day. But that last night was absolutely fucking dross.
Well, Tommy, it's interesting Andy should mention that, because it was a bit like when AJ fought against Molina and they brought Klitschko out afterwards. Forget about that shit you just paid for, because you've got the big one coming next. Was there an element of that? It sort of saved the battle for Mexico, but the fact Golovkin got in afterwards?
Definitely, mate, because that main event, I did enjoy the kid last night. I thought that the Diaz against the other young kid who's is it Avila or something, I thought that was a good fight. It was a good technical fight with two high class young guys. I'm really high on Joseph Diaz. The Matthysse fight was pretty good. I enjoyed the Lemieux fight. That Reyes, I thought he seemed to buzz Lemieux a couple of times. And he had these good moments in the fight, even though he was getting beat up. But the main event just didn't deliver in that. So to me, the main event's everything pay-per-view worthy. Really, with just the undercard, it wasn't. So definitely that did save it last night. We got the big announcement that we all wanted. Still wasn't worth the money that they paid for it over there, obviously. But at the end of the day, we think we've all got the fight that we want to see. So we'll take it.
Well, Tommy, Matt Ports was asking you, do you think there's a chance with the prices rising in pay-per-view, they'll rise to a point where we're actually playing similar prices to our American friends over the pond?
The way it's going now, and that the pay-per-view prices over here, that's up to 20 quid in that now. It's not going to go down, is it? So the only place it can go is up. So, yep. I don't think it'll get to the point where we're anytime soon we're paying 50 quid, but I can see maybe 25, 30 quid in that. Put it this way, if Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua fight next year, would anybody really be shocked if that's a 25 quid pay-per-view? Because I wouldn't be.
No.
Hater Dave, you're a hater, but I'm assuming that you have some love for this Golovkin against Canelo fight. Let me just read out a comment that came in on the Facebook page from Sean Miller, and I want you to comment on it if you can, Hater Dave. Sean says, I think that Triple G has played Canelo and his team a treat. He let Brook hit him as he knew he could take his shots and break him anytime he wanted. So he used the opportunity to make the likes of Canelo and even others think they had a chance. Jacobs did an extremely good job, take nothing away from him, but I really think Triple G attempted to coast and carry him to a decision, feeling he was in control but making it look competitive. I think, says Sean, that he could have got Jacobs out of there at any time but planned it differently. When he gets into the ring with Canelo, he's going to absolutely seriously go to work and do a job on him. What do you think, Dave?
I think that's some wishful thinking right there. I think GGG just showing decline, and that's what we saw in the Brook and Jacobs fights. To me, he lost Jacobs. I had a bad, like a not very good stream, and I only watched it the once. So maybe it was clearer to ringsiders that like he was landing these hard shots on the inside that were hard to see from the camera. But yeah, I just think he's on the decline, and this is the classic case of the young star going after the old lion, who's not really that much of a lion. I mean, he doesn't really have any great wins yet. When he starts to show signs of being past it, it's like the Ray Leonard Hagler thing. Now, take nothing away from Ray Leonard, because he was a welterweight moving up to fight the middleweight champion, a very dominant middleweight champion who had a lot of very top wins. Golovkin doesn't. He's started to look crap. And Canelo is probably in his absolute prime right now. So it's the perfect time to take it. I think he has a good chance to win it. I'm still going to watch the fight. I'm looking forward to it finally happening, but it's going to be insufferable if Canelo wins it, because like he's just played his he's learned so well from Floyd. He's basically the new Floyd. He's learned how to market himself. He's learned how to
bitch. That's what he is.
Yeah, he is. He's a cherry picker, and Floyd taught him extremely well at that. Last night was similar to how Floyd drained him down to 152. He drained Chavez down and played with him. He should have had him out of there too. Chavez was offering 0. He should have knocked him out. Yeah, he's the Ginger Floyd. And,
so Dave, do you think then contrary to what Sean says, do you think that the Golovkin-Jacobs performance has just pushed Canelo and his team in the direction of, yep, he's declined enough now, let's get that signed?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, Hater Dave has spoken.
I'll tell you something new, right? See after the Golovkin and Jacobs fight, me and Donnie went out to one of the bars and that, talking to these two guys for HBO, and before they told us we could book our hotels and that for the Canelo GGG fight. The fight was already done, so I didn't know whether just to take that with a pinch of salt, because obviously the drinks and that were flowing. Maybe they were talking shit, but it's obviously came through. I think this fight's been done now since before this, obviously before Jacobs fight and that. I think the fight's been agreed. They two win their next 2 fights are going to fight in September.
Because the reason that the Golovkin Saunders fell in Kazakhstan fell through pretty
Exactly.
quick as well. You know, but in the day, were they willing? Was the government going to be willing to pay him 10 million to come in there and fight as well at the same time?
Well, that's another thing too, mate. You don't know if that's true or not. But I actually think this fight's been done for a long time. They've both took an interim fight and they're going to fight in September.
Andy, I mentioned at the top of the show that Canelo obviously and his team dragged Chavez down to make this contrived fake all-Mexican grudge match in my eyes. And he fought Liam Smith before that. He was moving up and down the weights. He's become a bit of a diva in your eyes as well. Do you think, as Boxing Addict asks Andy, that the marquee fighters should only have 2 fights a year at the moment, or should they be fighting more?
Should be fighting more, mate. At the end of the day, they're getting really good money, so they can do what they want. They've got all this power. So I say that I give Canelo shit. Simple fact is, as you say, or I think it was Dave says, he's turning into the kind of new Floyd. He's obviously taking what's happened with the Floyd Mayweather fight, you know, having to kind of drain those or shave the last 2 pounds off to make 152. So this is what he's done. I can't remember. I think it was a Cottle fight maybe at a catch weight as well. I think he had to agree to that one. I mean, if you look at it, you know, even going up a fully fledged middleweight, he's going to go up and fight Golovkin, right? Who we know has got a cast iron chin. You know, for all this brutality that Canelo seemed to throw these body punches and all that sort of stuff, if you look at it, who he's actually stopped, you know, Liam Smith, Amir Khan, who we know, but I'm not going to shut on that because Khan's a welterweight coming up. Cotto, we know, is well, apart, unless you're fucking, you know, Don Margo or Saint Manny and that, you're not going to knock him out. Cutland, we know he's not got the greatest chin, recuperative powers. Lara, he lost. He took 10 rounds to get rid of Angulo. Trout, he drew with. I just think his power's overrated, and there's no way. I just cannot see him knocking out Golovkin in any way, shape, or form. If anything, he would demand to try and get this fight in Vegas with Mexican judges, or maybe take the fight to Dallas and try and get, maybe nick it on the score.
Lawrence Cole. He'll be inviting Lawrence Cole in as his ref for sure.
Aye, Larry Hazard's son as well. Is he no involved? They're quite. But saying that as well, the WBC title he's no fighting for, so maybe the WBC won't do him any favours anyway.
Donny, good to have you back with us. Let me throw a question your way from Emily Rogerson, as long as you can hear me okay. If Canelo beats Triple G, would he be the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and would he get the credit for beating Triple G?
I think he'd be right up there with Ward. I mean, because Ward's achievement in beating Kovalev, yes, I know the decision was debatable, but, they aren't going to do it again, of course, and there would be some clarity there. So I think the winner of Ward Kovalev might sort of be neck and neck in terms of the winner of this fight. It would be close. It also depends on the method in which if Canelo beat him by knockout, for instance, or if Golovkin knocks Canelo out. I think that would be the sort of emphatic statement that could sort of tip the scales.
Donny, I didn't hear your assessment of the main event. I'm assuming you weren't too enamoured by what you saw last night?
Actually, yeah, I think it was when you dropped off the call by accident. I think I already gave my assessment of that. I just how shocked I was that after everything that Chavez had been through to just get to the weight and the apparent serious commitment he put in the gym, how just very surprising it was to see him seemingly able to give so little in the ring. And had absolutely no urgency whatsoever. Like, at least with Martinez, he was trying until the end of that fight, even though he was outclassed. He was outclassed in this one too, but he just didn't seem to have that. He didn't seem to be trying to win. He just was content to just go the rounds. So that was basically my assessment. It was I was shocked because I really did believe that he would at least make a good effort, even if he was outclassed in the process. I thought he would make a good effort, and the effort wasn't there. Andy thinks it's the weight. I don't know.
Do you think, Donny, that he thought to himself, I've lasted the distance, tick the box, I made the weight, tick the box, I've got enough credit in the bank that I can put in a shit performance because I'm really not that good?
I mean, who knows what he was thinking inside? I mean, that's impossible to say, but I mean, like I said, especially when you talk about these all-Mexican matchups on Cinco de Mayo weekend, like I said, that this is for Mexican bragging rights. I mean, people will in Mexicans in particular, will forever remember this performance as so underwhelming. And it's like, he's the one that's going to have to walk the streets of his hometown, right? With people saying, hey, you got totally outclassed and seemingly gave no effort or whatever. I mean, people are going to remember that forever. And, that's going to be his legacy in the sport, is that, he just didn't have the drive that his dad had. That's what I thought would motivate him to at least give a good account of himself, even if he lost. But we didn't even, unfortunately, get that.
Tommy, just looking at some of the other names in the middleweight division, obviously we've got Triple G Canelo's sign. That's all we're bothered about. But it does affect. There is a ripple effect on other fighters. Billy Joe Saunders' name has been mentioned in association with both guys who are fighting in September. Unfortunately, now for Billy Joe, he's not going to get the big fight. But I'm not sure how much sympathy I have for him, Tommy. But Numb Tapestry has asked a question for you, Tommy. Has Billy Joe Saunders wasted nearly 2 years of his career now that he won't get Canelo or Triple G at least till April or May 2018?
Yes.
Sorry, mate, you broke up there. I couldn't really hear what you were saying.
He's lying.
What did you say? What did he say?
Triple G, Billy Joe Saunders has wasted 2 years of his career,
Definitely.
Tommy.
Yeah. I genuinely think he thought he was getting this Triple G fight, and obviously it fell through. But he's been sitting on the shelf and that, kind of trying to wait and get a big fight. So he really needs to get. He's on the same boat as his big mate, isn't he? He really needs to start kicking on with his career and that now, and get some fights made. I'd like to see Billy Joe against Danny Jacobs. I think that'd be a tremendous fight.
That Kurtzadze fight's going to get called at some point. It's going to have to. I mean, as you say, Golovkin's out the window. There's no other kind of fights on the horizon. Quillen's moved up in weight as well. The ideal thing would be to try and get him on his undercard, I suppose, as well, to try and build him up for, right away. But at the same time,
would he take the fight though, Andy? I mean, I was
Exactly.
saying this to Brian King earlier. It's all right, he was supposed to fight Rosado on the big undercard and
Exactly.
put himself into place. I mean, they could say, "Oh, fight somebody on the undercard like Lemieux or whatever." He wouldn't take it.
you're right, mate. I mean, that was an example I was just going to use. He pulled out of that Dallas, Texas card as well, didn't he? So, he's, I don't know if he's getting in shape, I suppose, but he's no fighter range. When's he back out? We don't know. But
that's July, isn't it? July the 9th?
July 9th. Well, you can pick anybody for like maybe number 10 to number 15 at the WBO ranking, so you could maybe be looking at some sort of one of the Polish fighters. I know there's that Obdesai, the guy that Jamie Cox fought. He would probably fit the bill for a WBO title defence.
Nobody wants to see that, do they?
Nah, fuck that.
They don't, but what do you want to see? Willie Monroe?
Yeah.
Rob Brandt?
I tell you who's a possible name that they could throw in, Andy. Christopher Lomax has said this. He said pretty much the same thing as we did. Where does this leave Billy Joe Saunders? Will he ever get a big payday? And he says at the end of his comment on the Facebook page, will Frank allow him to fight Eubank Jr. on ITV?
Oh, no, Kurt mentioned there were talks about Eubank fighting Mundine on pay-per-view on ITV.
It's on June the 10th. I know that much he's fighting. I don't know who the opponent is though, for sure.
God.
So Frank's going to let one of his world champions go, well, title holder's going to go for BT across the ITV pay-per-view. Desperate man though, Andy. The fight's like it's in the back pocket, isn't it? Whenever he needs to call on it. What about Murata? He's number one with the WBO.
I quite like Murata. Yeah, that could be a decent fight. Aye.
Risk against reward, though, isn't it?
Definitely, aye.
I think he shit the bed, to be honest with you. Anyone want to comment again on the main event or the implications before we move to the undercard?
Are we doing a Canelo Golovkin preview thing later, or are we just sort of?
No, you can say whatever you want now, Donna.
Oh, okay. I just think that excuse me 1 second here. Sorry, I'm driving. I just think that I think that Golovkin. First of all, I think that Canelo and Oscar waited until they wanted to see Golovkin look positively human, and when they finally saw that Jacobs fight, and it was a close fight, they said to themselves, "You know what? Actually, now it's finally time to make this fight." I think that if Canelo had looked, I think that if GGG had looked good against. I think if GGG had looked good against Jacobs and hadn't looked vulnerable, I don't think this fight would be happening right now, personally. And I still think that Golovkin has enough left in the tank to beat him. I think that the jabs are going to be way too strong. I think that he's better technically. I think that Canelo has flat feet. Golovkin, like the kind of guy that gives Golovkin trouble is a guy like Jacobs who can move and has some agility to him and things like that. And Canelo's going to stand right in front of him all night. He's flat-footed, and that's exactly what Golovkin wants. That's exactly what he wants. He's done opponents that have cement in their shoes, and that's exactly what he's going to get. Canelo's going to stand right there in front of him the whole night.
See, the only person that came out of that whole thing last night with a wee bit of class intact was Paul Dempsey. He called it as he fucking saw it, and that's all you want. You didn't want any hyper bullshit. You just wanted it, down the middle. He basically said when Golovkin got in that ring there last night, Canelo looked ready to fight. He says it was actually fucking. What was it he says? He said he looked more ready to fight in that fight than his opponent did the night. So.
I liked BT, Andy. I thought that I like when Richie Woodall called Bunsey out on his bullshit. The way Bunsey's a master of always saying that, being wise after the event. I think he said something about we saw Chavez not being able to perform, and Woodall said, "You said he was going to put in a good performance." He goes, "Oh well, I wasn't sure about the weight." He's always wise after the event. Bunsey.
Aye, it's fucking. It's just everybody's an expert after said event, mate. Always is the case. You see it be bet gate all the time as well.
Who are we all putting in this Canelo GGG fight?
Golovkin.
But right.
Yeah,
I'll go for Canelo. I just hope that after the fight, when Canelo wins it, that everybody gives Canelo the credit that he deserves, because he never ever gets credit. To be honest.
I just said that I think he'd be pound for pound number one if he beat him. How much more credit can I give him? Yeah, I mean,
well, I'm just saying. I just hope after the fight, if Canelo wins it, we didn't hear this. Oh, Triple G was over the hull shit and all that, because
everybody's seen it before that anyway, mate.
Come on, man, come on.
What's he not getting credit for? What's he not getting credit for, Tommy?
I think he still gets credit 3 years down the line for Trout and Lara.
I'll give you examples, right? We all talk. we'll talk about this and like who's been fighting in that, okay? Who's fought the best fighters, Canelo or Triple G? How come we never slate Canelo? How come Triple G never slate the time for his opposition?
Because Golovkin does not have the power. Because
bullshit.
Golovkin,
He could have had that. He could have had that fight with Andre Ward. We all know it. He demanded a 164-pound catch weight. Well, he was willing to fight at 172 pounds against Carl Froch. Bitch move.
Right, Donnie, respond.
Well, I was just gonna say Golovkin, really doesn't have the economic clout to just get people into the ring. Whereas not only does Canelo have the economic clout to get people into the ring, but to do so on his terms, right? And where he wants it, when he wants it, at the weight that he wants it at or whatever. And everybody kind of has to dance to his tune. So the reason why, Canelo, I think, doesn't get as much credit is because if he wants to fight one of the best opponents, he could just do that. He could just say, that's who I want. And instantly that fight will be done. Whereas if Golovkin wants somebody, he has to practically dog them for years, as he just did with Canelo, right, in order to get this fight. So I think that his
inability,
inability,
dogged him harder, it would have come a lot sooner, I think.
Probably, but but nonetheless, I mean, I think that's the difference. You're like, well, why? People always say, well, why is there double standard? It's because Canelo can pick his opponents. That's why.
Just go back. I mean, the reason why I gave Canelo shit back in the day was because when he picked up a vacant title against Matthew Hatton, right, he went on Ryan Rhodes, who fucking waited about 15, 18 months on that title shot. Alfonso Gomez, who's probably a light welterweight.
And Gomez was schooling him until the early stoppage.
Kermit Cintron. Well, you would probably say beyond at this point, shot Shane Mosley, Josecito Lopez, and then he fucking drew with Trout, and then he goes on about how Mexicans don't fuck around. Well, he mentally quit, and I fucking mean mentally quit against Mayweather.
Floyd owned him in every possible way.
Mayweather schooled him. I just think there's a double standards in that, because we know that he could have had the Ward fight. That's without a doubt. He's asked for a 164-pound catch weight. Everybody uses Canelo shit for catch weights. Triple G gets a complete pass for it. Triple G could have fought Lara. Lara's wanted that fight for years. I don't care what anybody says. Who fought Lara? Canelo fought Lara. I think it's about time a lot of people started giving him a lot more. I'm not talking about just guys on that in the podcast. I'm talking about in general, about people on Twitter and that, because there is a lot of double standards. Canelo's the one that's went out and beat the likes of Lara. Triple G, when you look at Lara, James DeGale says he would fight Triple G. He says that for a couple of years. They never even mentioned the guy's name.
That's true. But at the same time as well,
just my point is that people are saying that there's no willing to fight them, when there's quite clearly is elite fighters who have been willing to get in the ring with them, but fucking he's not got in there.
Yeah, but Canelo's at his weight though, Tommy. The Ward fight he would have had to have moved up.
And Canelo will fight him just like Canelo's fought everybody else, and he has fought everybody.
He fought his first middleweight last night, and he's supposedly the middleweight champion.
Well, he didn't. His first middleweight he fought was Cotto.
No,
middleweight's 155 pounds to 160 is the middleweight limit.
He was no middleweight. He just went up and beat up a cripple. He was a middleweight. He beat up a guy who was fucking crippled for the middleweight.
Who was a middleweight champion?
Martinez.
Right.
Martin Murray.
Who was the middleweight champion after Martinez? Cotto was the middleweight champion. Canelo beat him.
Well, we argued that fact.
He didn't beat him at middleweight though.
No.
Let's be honest, right? We can sit here and debate resumes all night. Triple G's resume is complete and utter dog shit, and he's 35 years old. I remember Joe Kolzagi getting shit in that when he was 32, 33.
He turned pro.
I'm speaking 32, 33 from everybody, and at 32, 33, Joe Kolzagi had a better resume than fucking Triple G's got right now. By miles.
Come on, Donnie.
He turned pro late. Canelo turned pro when he was 15 years old, and then he was stuck over with fucking Universum, whatever that promotional company that collapsed. He was under a bad contract.
He's been pro for 11 years. He's been pro for 11 years. He's been fighting in America. He's been fighting for America now for 6 years.
Yeah, well, he came in 2013, wasn't it?
No, 2012 or something, 2011. No, it's 2012 he first fight. Bros comes his first fight.
In 4 years, he went from like a random European guy to a guy who's selling out Madison Square Garden and knocking everybody out.
On HBO.
Now he's fighting in the biggest fight in boxing.
See, this is what I'm talking about. People are now wanting to look at this for both sides. They're just wanting to shit on Canelo all the time, and they're not wanting to accept that Triple G could have had bigger fights, and he's decided not to take them.
Look, I mean, if he wants Canelo,
this is a guy that sees that money means nothing to him when it quite clearly does. This is a guy who sees that a fighter. He said that Canelo will ask him for a catch weight when he's done exactly the same thing to Andre Ward. It's time to start judging fighters on the same level. Whatever Canelo's done, Triple G's done the same. He's just not done it as impressively as Canelo has to this point.
If that redheaded bastard's name, was Johnny McCracken or something from Scotland, he wouldn't have won the Lara fight and he wouldn't have won the Trout fight. He would have gotten losses in both endeavors.
He beat Lara. He beat Lara. And most people, if you look at the online polls and you look at the media scores and that, the majority of them are with Canelo. I thought he drew with Trout. I thought the Trout fight was a draw. I think he had another level to go up in the Trout fight. The open scoring ruined that fight for me. He was obviously coasting on the scorecards and blah blah blah. But I thought he won the Lara fight. I just want both fighters to get judged on a level playing field.
Andy, one thing I do agree with Hater Dave on is that Golovkin hasn't pushed the Canelo fight hard enough, just like he didn't push the Miguel Cotto fight hard enough. I think he should have been really pushing hard for those fights.
Oh, I forget about the Cotto situation, but you understand. You know, as Tommy was mentioning about this fight maybe made months ago. You know, you just don't know that. You know, he just basically allowed himself to be a prostitute, get bent there, lubed up, and penetrated. I think he just been the fucking guy. You know, acting as the B side, Canelo acting all up and stuff. Get him in the ring, pure WWE fucking promotion there last night. As I say, it was the whole card was fucking. I thought it was poor. You know, I want to get onto the undercard a wee bit as well. I know he's taking up most of the stuff and that, but just. I know you say it about Golovkin. If you actually read some of his translated stuff and that, he's actually a totally different guy than what he puts across when he speaks English and stuff. But I don't mean that in any sort of negative way, because English is obviously not his first language. He needs to try and get by on it and stuff. But at the same time, he is a calculating, cunning businessman. And I just think, you know, this is it's obviously going to be his cash out fight or whatever it is, but you know, he's made decent money in his career, and this one's going to set him up for life basically. But he's got the fight that he wanted. This was all the fight that we really wanted, because we all knew Cotto was never going to hang around at middleweight, and we all knew Cotto was going to get absolutely fucking melted in at the canvas. So this was the one that we really wanted. But you know, as Scotty RFC says to me earlier on this morning on Twitter, and that, he says it's actually 2 years to the day since I said that Golovkin that Canelo would wait 2.5 years before they made the Golovkin fight, and here we are.
Yeah. Do you think Andy maybe doesn't get in the ring and start shouting and slagging and stuff because he can't articulate himself in English as well as he would like if it got into like a slanging match with opponents?
Still, he does it a lot better than Canelo does. Canelo can't even speak English at all.
I mean, just in general, yeah. No, you're quite right.
I know what you mean, mate. As parity, I suppose. I mean, you know, if it was to try it, all it would be is some sort of, you know, you just get classed as some sort of funny Borat character and that. You know, at the end of the day, if he's going to shit talk, then do what Canelo did and get that interpreter and just do it in your native tongue and get it across. Because that way, at least if you put it across in your native tongue, you can actually read his facial expressions just to see how much fire and passion is actually behind the eyes. But as I say, he's a cunning, cold individual, Golovkin.
Right, okay. Dominic Henry's on the line. Dominic, do you want to unmute yourself and let us know what you're thinking?
Well, I don't know if he wants to unmute himself.
Dominic, go ahead. Dominic.
This is like when Rocco calls up.
Or Russ.
Can you hear me?
Russ, excuse me, Russ, yeah.
Right, we'll try and work on that, shall we?
Oh, wait, I think he's unmuted. No?
No, he's still muted.
Right, while Dominic tries to unmute himself, we'll move on to the undercard.
The machine is back, sort of.
The machine is back, Dave. Right, tell me about David Lemieux. I thought for all intents and purposes he was going to be lined up for the Canelo fight, but it proves me wrong. This Marcos Reyes, he just took punches beyond the Call of Duty, didn't he?
Yeah, and that's what it...
For 40 grand as well, for $40,000, fucking hell.
Yeah, props to that guy. Props to his heart, and he really did... he really did put it on him a few times. Probably picked up a couple of rounds there. Lemieux not that impressive. It reminded me of the Alcine fight, except his gas tank was better. Maybe maybe it's all a mental thing, and because the Alcine fight was like so soon after he got smashed by Rubio, and he's much more confident now. He knows himself. He knows how to handle being tired, and he knows he can get a second win. So I think maybe that's what it has to do with, not so much the difference in his physicality, but Lemieux's experience really didn't have him in too much trouble in the fight, even though I think he did tire up a little bit.
He's a big puncher, Andy. He always looks a little bit fleshy to me, but he's an exciting middleweight. I think he puts his punches together a little bit better than people think. You know, he does feint the left hook and throw the right uppercut. He's not just a one-dimensional puncher, and he will make waves. He'll be in some exciting fights, I think, Andy, other than in against the elite guys who will school him.
He's B minus level. Last night, as I say, Diaz. I want to go into Diaz for a wee, just very briefly, but the Lemieux fight, I watched about 6-7 rounds of it. As I said last week, Reyes is usually that guy when he steps up in class, which Lemieux was borderline a step up. He always gets found wanting. It's just a simple fact is that Lemieux had his way with him. I disagree with David a wee bit. Actually, I thought he was sagging a wee bit, especially in the 10th round. And I did think he was blown a wee bit heavy after the fight. And that was at a 163 fight. It's 163 pounds. So, you just wonder again if, him getting into middleweight is actually going to start being a problem that as well. But, we can see that his power at middleweight is okay. But, up at super middleweight, which that fight was at last night, especially after you get the rehydration and stuff like that, Lemieux's punching power, I don't think it's all that.
Tommy, did you see any of this one? Any comments?
The Lemieux fight, is that what we're talking about, mate? I just took the headphones off there for a minute.
Yep.
I watched the fight, mate. I thought it was quite a good scrap. Obviously, Lemieux dominated the action, but this Reyes was tough, and he had one or two moments in the fight. I actually thought that Lemieux looked like he might gas in that coming into the later rounds, but he shielded the show well. It wasn't a fight I would say was competitive, but I thought it was quite fun. Lemieux's obviously got that power and that though. So see, if he could just set his shots up a wee bit better, he'd be a real talent in that division. Really good fighter. I said on Twitter last night when I watch him, I always feel like he's just one punch for getting knocked out himself though. But he's a fun fighter. I thought it was quite a fun fight, to be honest.
I was thinking halfway through the fight, Tommy, Lemieux against Hassan and Dan would be a fun fight, and then I've forgotten altogether that they actually fought for the IBF title. Billy Joe Saunders too. It was, Dave. Billy Joe Saunders, Tommy against Lemieux would be a really good boxer versus puncher fight. But will we ever see anything like that?
Well, I'm not too sure. I think Billy's really going to need to get a big push and definitely get somebody in the top 5 this year. He needs it, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen. I'm keeping my fingers crossed and hope it happens. I think Billy Joe Saunders is a good fighter, top talent. I think he'd beat the likes of David Lemieux in that, but he really needs to prove that, doesn't he?
Yeah. Final comments on Lemieux, Dave, before we move on to Diaz and then Matthysse.
I don't really care about Lemieux generally speaking. I don't, because he's proven multiple times that he's not ever going to be elite level. But I do think in this condition you have to pick him over Billy Joe Saunders, considering his last fight.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. Right, Andy, let's get on to Joseph Jojo Diaz, 23-0, defeated Manuel Avila, 22-0. Quite aesthetically pleasing record from Avila. He wasn't great. He wasn't a very big puncher. I thought that through the middle rounds he was doing okay. He was starting to time Diaz's lead right, and he was getting the left hook whipped over pretty quickly. But towards the end of the fight, Andy, referee Tony Weeks was looking on. Diaz was starting to lay a beat down on Avila, and he did well to last the distance. You like the look of this Diaz kid at featherweight? Andy?
I Candice, he fell asleep during the fight, didn't he?
Sorry, mate. I was on mute there. Sorry, mate. I watched about the first 6 rounds. As I say, Tommy says I fell asleep during the fight. What I thought about it was simple fact is, if I look at something like that, I just don't think that Diaz had that. He's not got that type of instinct where he's just going to step in and just try and take someone out when he's got them on the hook. This is where I'm starting to get on the Oscar Valdez train, and these two could potentially meet in the mandatory defence for Valdez. I never saw the end of the fight. I heard your comments were saying about the fact is that he took a bit of beating towards the end, that Avila, but I'd need to go back and see that. But for what I saw of the fight, it was, he's technically good. He was a good amateur. There's no doubt in that. But I just think, stepping up into the pros, I don't know. It's just to me, it's just, he's just not got the factor for me yet, just to be on that train. But the Jason Velez win, I suppose, was a good win, but then Velez isn't all that highly rated. But I suppose the Valdez fight is going to be, what he's going to be judged off, I think, because that last night, as I say, it wasn't inspiring to me. It was for what you were saying, it sounded like a kind of one-sided beatdown. It looked like it was kind of one pace to me when what I was watching. So I was in a bit disappointed about it, actually. But
he's your number one contender now for Valdez, isn't he?
Aye.
Yes. I think that'll be fun. I think that could be a fun fight. That. I'd go Valdez in the fight myself, man. But I'd really like to see that, to be honest.
Yeah, Tommy, how can we get these fights made? That's the question. Oscar and Bob Arum negotiations. They've thawed a little bit between each other. If Twitter rumors are to be believed, Oscar was sharing a hug with the mysterious Al Heyman as well. So do you think that we could maybe see the featherweight guys fighting each other? Because the politics can get in the way in this division.
Well, I think the climate now is a lot better than it was 3, 4, 5 years ago, wasn't it? Where they just would refuse to work with each other. They all seem to be doing a bit better than that now. The lawsuits and all that have been sorted out. So I don't think it's as frosty. The relationships are as frosty now. I think there's a chance of seeing some fights. And they actually have been working together on some fights. So here's hoping that they can get them done. And I think the TV networks are going to play a big part in it. They really need to push for the fights and that as well. But I'm quite optimistic. 2017 is really shaped up to be a good year. We've had some great fights, and we've still got some great fights to come for the end of the year. So I'm quite optimistic that a lot of big fights can be made.
Yeah. Hey, to Dave, I think that's half the battle, isn't it? We need Peter Nelson at HBO. We need Stephen Espinoza at Showtime to say, look, you need to cut the bullshit. You need to work together as best as you can, guys. Otherwise, you're not going to be getting the privileged treatment that we've been dishing out to these guys.
Yes, we also need to stop accepting the Cold War, which is thawing. We need to stop accepting it as the status quo. We need to stop saying, oh, well, let's not even talk about that fight because it's Heyman and Arum. We need to say these two guys should fight each other. Fuck the business. Get in there.
Right. Donnie, did you see anything of Diaz? No?
Donnie's dropped off the call, mate.
Oh, it's Dominic Henry who's on the call. Sorry. Dominic, any joy on you yet?
They just muted himself again, man.
I saw the D, but it's Dominic. Right, yeah, Josh Tebow's looking on the call. If someone, I'm not really sure what his Twitter is, but if we can get hold of that, we will accept him. Final fight of interest to me on this card, if we move on, was David Lemieux. No, we've done that one, haven't we? Lucas Matthysse, sorry, against Emmanuel Taylor. Matthysse, he's moved up in weight. He's put a bit of weight on the belly, Tommy. He can still punch as hard as hell. I thought this Emmanuel Taylor, he's not top world level, but he gives good fighters, a good fight, and he just couldn't take the pair of Matthysse, who looked really, really good.
I was shocked last night. I thought going into the fight that the guy would take a chance against Matthysse. I've always kind of thought he's a wee bit underrated, and he's a tough guy as well. He's got some decent skills. He's lost a few, but when I seen Matthysse against Postal, I know Postal's jab really won him the fight, but I thought Matthysse looked absolutely horrible in that fight. So after 19 months off, I wasn't expecting much from him. But last night, I was really surprised. I thought he looked excellent last night. He looked really sharp. It looked like he'd been rejuvenated coming to the weight class. And as you say, obviously the power's still there and that as well. I think there's going to be some good fights out there for Matthysse at welterweight. I was absolutely shocked last night. I took him on my accumulator to win the fight, but I wasn't really confident, that he was going to pull it off. But I've always been a big fan of him, so I'd really like to see. I really want to see him in with Can or Danny Garcia. I've always liked the Can fight, and obviously I think there's unfinished business here with Danny Garcia through the headbutts in that in the first fight. So I wouldn't mind seeing that fight too. But big fights there for Matthysse. I can't wait to watch him again. I've always been a fan of him.
You think there's unfinished business for Garcia? Garcia schooled his ass, Tommy.
I think with the headbutts and that, we didn't really, with the eye and all that, we didn't really get to see that fight, play out the way it would have. Actually, I picked Danny to win the fight. I thought Danny to win the fight, but I just, with the injury to the eye and that, I think that really affected him. I wouldn't mind seeing it again, to be honest.
Andy, looking at the 147-pound division, we've got a few decent fighters, as Tommy mentioned. Garcia, Thurman, Peterson, I think, is hanging around as well. Broner, goodness knows what weight he's at these days. Kell Brooks, Spence, Manny Pacquiao, he's on the world tour. There's plenty of options for Matthysse if anybody wants a name at that level and doesn't mind getting hit hard in the face.
As I said last week, mate, it was a decent opponent to come back to after the time out in the. I think he had surgery on his eye as well. I think. But I think kind of early doors, he buzzed Taylor while looking right hand, and he kind of knew then, like, this guy's carrying a fair bit of power about him. It was actually quite impressed as to what he had left, and it looked quite good in doing it. I don't know. He's obviously miles away from a Garcia fight, and we all know Danny only fights like once a year. If there's any fight out there, it could be potentially be made, regardless, like, say, politics and all that sort of stuff. I want to see him in with the fucking wasted one, Adrian fucking Broner. I want to see him in there just to get a chance. I know Broner's chin's pretty good, but if Matthysse could just uncork one, just kind of like just like evaporate that entire career of fucking cloners, that would be fucking glorious.
If Broner doesn't go out twitching on the canvas, boxing's field does, isn't it?
No, but
there's always a danger, though, isn't there, Dave, that Broner could outbox him and break our hearts, man?
There's a slight danger of that. I think more of the danger would be Matthisse's chin letting him down before he lands a big one. Because Broner, I don't think he really has the style to outbox Matthysse. He doesn't move, and he doesn't throw enough. I think his best chance in that fight would be like an uppercut or a hook, catching Matthysse coming in and hurting him. I think Matthysse would probably win that, though, because Broner is so stationary, and Matthysse would just be able to get off on him right through his gloves. I think that's a good fight, though. I would very much like to see that.
See, as part of negotiation tactics, actually, I would want Matthysse to make sure that there's STD testing in the contract as well.
We know Broner does like to butt fuck in the ring.
He likes to shag sewer rats as well at the club, baby.
That's terrible. Right, final point of interest on this card. I was listening to the HBO boxing podcast, and Eric Raskin was saying that whenever Marlon Esparza fought in her flyweight fight against Samantha Salazar at the weigh-in for the first time, I've never seen this happen before either, Salazar failed to make weight, so they had to get the towels round her and take all of her gear off, and the crowd were quite enjoying the fact that there was a pair of knickers just dropping on the floor. So I thought that was a point of interest. And
what else was interesting about that is that it was the first women 3-minute rounds fight.
I'd have picked them up and went like that.
She was 2-3-1, Andy, though. Do you think they would have been clean?
I don't know, mate. I mean, obviously, we're a bit of chafing involved as well, I suppose. Bit of sweat.
Bit of sweat, not making weight. Right.
Just lick it to the side or something like that, But all right, just plow your way through it.
Dave, anything clean you want to add?
I didn't see the fight, but I do think it was interesting that, and a good thing that women are now getting the 3-minute rounds. Although some may argue that women's boxing is so putrid to watch that 2-minute rounds makes it go by quicker, but I think it's a step towards making it a better sport. I would hope. The more like male boxing it is, the better, because right now it's pretty tough to watch frequently.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, let's move down under, shall we? A fight that I've seen very, very little of, just a few highlights, and there weren't very many highlights by the sound of what the guys were telling me. Joseph Parker, 22-0, defeating Razvan Kajanu, 16-2. The scorecards 117-110 twice. It shows that maybe Parker didn't have it all his own way. The 110 means that there was a point off. I think Kajanu got deducted a point in either the third or the fourth for hitting behind the head or pushing Parker's head down or something. He was effectively a sparring partner, Andy, coming in at short notice. We wanted to see the Hughie Fury fight, but we got to see this shit-fest instead. Do you think that the Parker team had a few quid on it going the 12-round distance or something?
I suppose I don't know what the odds were, mate. I don't know if that was where the money was to be made or no, but I suppose, how hard do you want to go on it? I mean, I know it was a shit fight. It is what it is with Fury pulling out. This guy was ranked the top 15 in WBO. I think it's just basically it's indicative of how shite the rankings really are, actually. And not just like with WBO, it's right across the board. For what I saw, I didn't just kind of sit and study. I watched about 4 rounds, and then I was like, oh fuck, this is pish. The big guy, what's his name? Kujara, or Kujuru, whatever his fucking name is. You know, he seemed like, you know, everybody seemed to be kind of like putting on the fact that, you know, he's this big character and good to talk to and stuff. You know, they really were trying to sell it. You know, Joy Nelson was fucking trying to kind of really put the point across that, you know, he knew everything about the guy when he really, in actual fact, he knew square root of fuck all about this guy. I mean, I never knew much about him or anything about him at all, and so I can't say, you know, this is how he normally fights and that. But how the fuck he got ranked with any sort of organisation for any version of the world title is absolutely deplorable. I think this will be his last fight. Parker's in New Zealand. They had to make it pay-per-view for some reason. They couldn't get funding for the government. So I think, you know, it's going to be either UK bound or, you know, go for somewhere in America, which I don't think it will happen. So I think you'll be looking at a Bellew fight, maybe even Dillian White fight. Parker, for what I saw, as I says, he didn't really inspire me. And I says, you're only really good at your last performance. But I've said, you know, for, you know, weeks before, you know, if you want to go back and check the archives and listen, you know, say that I believe Anthony Joshua would actually fucking just walk through Parker. I mean, like, just power through him, just bulldoze him. You know, we've still got to see Parker, you know, down, hurt, and really try and get back up off the floor. Even though he's had hard fights and stuff, I'm not bagging on the guy too much. He has had some decent wins, but that yesterday didn't inspire any sort of confidence, you know, for any fight with the likes of Joshua or Klitschko. Wilder, as you know, I don't rate whatsoever. So it says, you know, the divisions, you know, it's got 1 or 2 big fights that you want to see, but, you know, Parker, as I says, you know, he needs to be fighting, you know, somewhere like the top 5 guys now, like Joshua, Klitschko. If I see Wilder as well, I know Wilder's called him out, but that's where we are with that one. As I says, it wasn't anything inspiring at all.
Yeah, Tommy, I'm not interested in seeing these guys going their separate ways anymore. I don't want to see Parker fighting in these fights. I want him to step up to the plate, fight the big guys, loses his title. It brings the splintered title situation back to just a few guys. I want him to unify now. I'm not interested in this shit anymore.
I think the fight to be made is obviously him against Deontay Wilder. I watched 3 rounds of that fight yesterday. I paused it, I ended up going to the bookies, came back up the road. I've not even got back around to watch the rest of the fight yet. It just looks shit for me. It really needs to be tasted. You see me Wilder? Yep.
Donnie, did you see Parker against Cajanu?
I actually saw none of the undercard. I was out last night, and so I only got back in time for the main event. So sorry.
Well, that's
Parker
okay, because this was the main event, Donnie, so you can tell us about Parker and Cajanu.
I did not. Let me put it this way. I'm sorry. I did not see any other boxing this weekend besides Chavez Canelo.
Okay. Hey, today, Hughie Fury, there was a press release from Mick Hennessy went out just after the Parker fight. So Hughie Fury, Parker is shit. I'd KO him. Well, yeah. Why weren't you in there fighting him?
Wait, an official press release said Parker was shit. I'll KO him.
Well, words to that effect, not quite as blatant
Okay.
as that.
I do kind of. I would have favored Hughie over Parker, and I'm kind of pissed that the fight didn't happen. But yeah, I'm not interested really in what he says, because he's not. This is what is this, like the 4th or 5th big fight for, well, not big fight, but like a decent step up in competition to maybe like top 15 ranked guys, top 10 ranked guys. This is like maybe the 4th one of those that's fallen through, and whatever the reason, it's time to get your ass moving. I don't care.
I'm a big fan of the Furies, and obviously everybody knows that, but it's not a good look for them really, the new, is it? I hopefully after tomorrow, I've got to hear on that tomorrow that they can both crack on, but both the lads need to get back in the ring as soon as possible and start winning some fights, because as I say, it's not a good look for among the fans. The fans are right on their backs, aren't they?
Certainly are, Tommy. Andy, I was just reading Sean Glover's comment. He basically said about them having money on Parker to win on points. So we've sort of covered that. Tell me about this one from George Ross, Andy. I think somebody mentioned the Dillian White fight. So if you put into a bag here, put into the mix together, Joseph Parker, Hughie Fury, Dillian White and Derek Chisora, who would come out victorious out of that lot?
Joseph Parker, Dillian White, Del Boy, and who else? Hughie Fury?
Yep.
Well, I can't really comment on Hughie Fury, because he says, you know, apart from the Rudenko fight, which was this, you know, the step up, and Rudenko's no great, but it was a good measure to stick at that point. he's done nothing else. So you would need to say he would come in dead last at the minute, right? You just got to be honest about that. Del Boy, White. I think a fully motivated Del Boy would actually give Parker a really good scrap. Even at this point in his career, I think he would give him a good fight. Probably wouldn't beat him. Maybe take it tight on the cards, Parker. White, again, we've had him on the show and stuff, but this guy's entire career is built off knocking down Joshua in the amateurs, and one right hand in a fight that he ultimately got stopped in. So I'm probably going to go with Parker. Would probably come out on top.
See the thing with Del Boy. I've said this a lot. A lot of people have said he was shot. I think motivation was a big thing to do with Del Boy. I don't think he was up for. He's been up for fights for a long time, but he definitely showed up in that Dillian White fight. I don't think he looked anywhere near a short fighter, like a lot of people have been saying. I think if he's motivated, he can still cause a lot of people problems. That's just what I think.
I think that Parker against Dillian White would be a really fun fight, actually. I think that would be perfect for the next sort of big fight undercard, or the next Joshua undercard, if they could make it.
Yeah, I was talking about this fight yesterday. I actually made a poll in the fight, and I was surprised to see that so many people picked Dillian White to beat him. I think it'd be a competitive fight, ultimately with Parker pulling the decision out at the end, but I wouldn't mind actually seeing it either, to be honest.
Hey,
Parker's
today,
power's
George
not that, is it?
Yeah.
At that top level. Oh, shall we just say he's not shown he's got that concussive power.
I don't think he's not got the one punch concussive power, has he? I think he throws a lot of hard punches, but he's not got that power that's going to put you away, has he?
No. I thought, Andy, I said it before on the pod, that I thought Parker's speed and his ability to get to the target quickly would be a problem, but I'm wrong, Andy. Joshua would absolutely steamroll him.
He would, mate.
See, I think he's tough though. I think he looks like he can hold. I think he looks like he can hold a shot, and he's got a good gas tank as well.
I think
maybe
he is. Who was the black guy who fought again? Was it Carlos Takam? I think he had him a wee bit of bother a couple of times, and he did show that he could dig down and stuff. I think his defence.
He was blowing out of his hole, Andy, from about the fourth round, wasn't he?
He was. He'd be honest about it, but I think his defence isn't all that great. This coupled with the fact that his powers, but not all that for what you really need at top level at heavyweight. Coupled with the fact that his defence isn't all that great, he could run into some problems, as I said. But Joshua, I think, just basically brutalises him, and I'm not doing that just because I'm shitting on Parker. We all gave Parker a lot of respect and a lot of credit coming up there, where he wins against Takam, and I forget the other one. The other
Andy Ruiz.
We gave him his credit for that, but as I say, you can only be good as your last fight, and either it's a sparring partner mentality or whatever it is. But that yesterday, as I say, it's always going to be living in the mind that you're good as your last fight. That was fucking poor.
You've got to see that Joshua's operating on a different level to him, isn't he?
Hey, to Dave, Andy's alluded to the fact that Parker's stamina might not be all that. George Ross was also asking, is Parker vulnerable in the later rounds, Dave, should he get there?
I think he might be. Again, in the Ruiz fight, that's the only fight that I actually sat down and paid real attention to of Parker's. And I thought he handled the rounds pretty well, but he was puffing. I just think Ruiz didn't throw enough power shots and didn't work the body enough, or he could have had him out of there possibly. Also, even Fat Man Ruiz did have him a little bit uncomfortable, maybe a little stunned at times, and all he did was land a few very clubbing, glancing power shots. His best punch of the fight was the jab, and he landed that pretty well. But his power shots were bad, and I think he still bothered Parker.
Yeah. Not enough angles from Parker. Talking of heavyweights who come in straight lines, we've got Big Russ on the call. Russ, what's happening?
How are you doing?
Not too bad, Russ. We're talking about Parker against Fury. The fight not happening, and then Parker's subsequent substitute appearance against Mr. Cajano. Did you see any of it? What did you think of Fury not being there?
That guy who ranked 78 on box right now. Did you look at the guy that he fought before he fought Parker? There was some guy ranked 431 with tits, a Chinaman, little Chinaman. Did you see him? That World 2 or something, Wong Pong or whatever they were called.
Yeah, we saw that. We said this last week.
Embarrassing, mate. The WBO, this is why they call it the Warren Boxing Organisation. It's a joke. The belt shouldn't have been on the line last night for that fight, or yesterday morning, sorry. it was shocking, mate. And that Parker, he'd been blown away by Joshua, Bellew, any of them. They just walked straight through him. He's pony, mate. Proper rhubarb.
What about Hughie Fury? What would Hughie have done to him?
Fury's obviously, because I speak to Peter a lot, but Hughie's untested, isn't he? Apart from Fred Cassie fight, isn't he, really? But I think Hughie would beat Parker. I don't honestly. I've seen him spar Tyson a few times, and Dave Allen thinks he's good and that as well. Hughie, technically very good. I think just because Hughie's untested, I think Parker's untested as well. I mean, take the belt off Parker. Who's his best win? Forget that belt. Now let's look at Parker. Let's examine him. What's he done? Beat Andy Ruiz. He's another one with tits. These guys he's beaten are not fit.
What about Carlos Takam, Russ?
He's a tough kid, but I thought he struggled in that fight as well against Takam. I mean, you could say that's his best win, couldn't you, really?
Yeah.
But he's a nutter, isn't he? Like a Billy Joe, that Takam, and he's like a Saki Abika type, isn't he?
Yeah.
Rough, tough sort of guy.
Russ, you're quite close to the Fury camp. Is there any chance of this being resolved with Hughie and maybe him still fighting Parker?
I got a text from Peter yesterday, and the text said it was just a link. It sent me something from saying it was going to be Bellew or Hughie. So I don't know, but I know all that Peter's been doing for a long time now is forking out for lawyers, and fucking hell, it must be at the end of his tether, man. All they're doing is paying out for lawyers. They're the only people who make any money in boxing, corporate lawyers, sports ones.
What are they paying the lawyers for exactly?
Well, I'd assume it'd be for, for example, I know one thing that when Peter got a 65 grand bill, didn't he, said on IFL, for Frank Warren tried to stop Tyson Vladimir, didn't he? That was 65 grand for starters. And then obviously I'd assume Peter they'd be paying out for all these appeals and people to speak for him, and for blood tests to be examined and other stuff you have to be involved with. It's a long drawn out job. I see some of the stuff that Dennis pays out, and I say, fucking hell. You can make some money on a show or break even, and then you've got lawyers. And then, I've seen bills for 9 and 12 grand for shit, bits of shit. Or £1,200 for a fucking psychiatrist report because a fucking boxer's been ticked wrong or something. Or some boxers were misbehaving when he was 16 at school, and he had that, what is it called, attention deficit disorder or something. Fucking 8 years ago when he was at school, but he has to pay 1,200 quid for a medical thing. Then you've got to pay 400 quid for a fucking solicitor to lodge it. Oh, fucking hell, man.
Russ.
Lawyers are fucking sport up, mate.
Russ, have you ever passed a drugs test?
I've never passed a drugs test. I failed a few when I was in jail.
Did you used to hide shower gel up your arse, Russ?
Doing it for fucking cannabis. You get 2 years in jail and you do full fucking 2.
Russ,
Russ,
is Hughie Fury not fighting because he's seeing out a drugs ban?
I don't know, mate. I don't know anything about that. I can't comment on that, but I know have they got an hearing tomorrow?
I don't know.
Hearing tomorrow, isn't there?
Right.
Tyson's been out of the ring 2 years in November, so if Tyson gets a 2-year ban, he can fight in November, can't it? End of November.
Yeah.
Hughie's been out of the ring 13 months, hasn't he?
Ross, let me bring the guru in here. He's going to add some knowledge.
See the situation is, right, when they were banned were suspended by UCAD. UCAD, obviously, they lifted the suspension. They've made a statement that it was contaminated meat, but the board I think they've kept them suspended until the actual hearings, until they've seen what's happened with the hearings. So they've no license them, have they? I think that's the thing with Hughie just now. He's able to fight abroad, not under the board's jurisdiction, but I don't think they're going to be licensed until the hearing tomorrow. I think the hearing is tomorrow, as Ross says. So I think that's what's went in there.
Yeah, that's probably right. I mean, he might have a back injury as well. But obviously, I don't know what full ins and outs, but I know you can. I know people in boxing that can work things through their advantage and that. But I know Tyson's been out 2 years on the 28th of November. And I've heard that people are saying if he gets a 2-year ban, they'll be happy because if he gets to November, Tyson will probably be in shape and won't he? Enough 6 months, he'll be ready to have a fight.
Ross, tell me about this Sam Sheedy Brian Rose fight. Is it happening or not?
Well, we think it's a good fight. What happened where we base most things on boxing, our match things. I know it's pretty fucking hardcore, but if you look at the rankings, the 2 guys who were for the European title fight, that Blanderama and Gotti, they're ranked lower than Brian Rose. And we had a chat as a team overnight and said, fucking Sheedy had smashed Brian Rose up. Brian Rose didn't even want to fight Andrew Robinson, but Sheedy fought him with a bad shoulder and a bad back. And he was like, the time Andrew Robinson who would knock everybody out. Sheedy beat him in a close fight. And we said, great, let's go for Brian Rose. Brian Rose rung Sheedy on Friday night and said he didn't want to fight. We don't know if it's Eddie didn't want Brian Rose to go on a Dennis Hobson show, or if Brian Rose was just a fucking bottle that's come. But he lost his last fight, and so where's he going? I mean, it's a Commonwealth title fight for good money and tickets. So what's his problem? What's Eddie going to get him that's better than that? I mean, he don't fucking punch hard, does he? I mean, that fight with Arnfield was embarrassing, wasn't it? I think it's a good fight because Brian Rose, if Sheedy beats Brian Rose, we can get him for a European title fight as a volunteer because Brian Rose is ranked in top 10 anyway, European. I don't know fucking how, but Sheedy would just fucking school him. He'd just stand outside and just school him. Brian Rose struggles with southpaws as well. But he knocked it back Friday night. He even rung him up. So, I mean, it's bad, isn't it, when Matchroom can't even pick fucking phone up. That Frank Smith, if you're listening, you're a fucking mom. But I think it's bad that people don't communicate. But Brian Rose hasn't even got a deal with Eddie. He's not got a deal. All he's got, see, this is what Eddie does, right? You know, like Frankie Gavin, Brian Rose, people like that, Dave Allen. You don't give him a deal.
Fight to fight, aren't they?
We'll keep you in background and we'll keep you. You know, I might need you. It's like Frankie Gavin. He doesn't know where he is in his career. He might be needed if there's a Birmingham show, but he ain't got a deal. But yeah, these fighters, they don't go with anybody else.
Yeah.
In case they fuck it up with Sky, they don't want to rock the boat. Remember, they've not got concrete deals. I think it's wrong, mate. It's like they're hanging on all the time and they don't want to upset the fucking upset Eddie, do they? It's like bullying. I know it's like it's no different to what Goldman Sachs used to do to people, isn't it? With shares, we'll deal with you, but not give you a contract, or we might wait with you down the line. It's fucking wrong.
Ross,
I think that's a good fight for Sheedy, Brian Rose, mate.
Ross, let me bring the guru in briefly. Tommy, do you want to say anything? Tommy?
I was just going to see what you're saying. I've heard that as well. I've heard there's only like 4 or 5 fighters under Hearn that have actually got deals with him. You know, everybody thinks he's got this big massive stadium, but there's only a few guys got deals with him. Obviously, I like to see your Joshua's and that, but there's not many more.
Yeah, that's true. Not a lot of them have got deals, you know. They're all got like, it's not even an handshake, it's just, yeah, we're going to wait with you down the line so don't go anywhere else. So he's like, you're needed, but you might not be needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you've got a contract with Eddie and he don't want you no more, he just puts you in a fucking hard fight, and then if you lose, he says, well, dare to be great. You know what I mean? It's fucking wrong, mate, because I know for a fact that there's people who are working with Sky who want a contract, but they're not getting it, and they're like caught in fucking no man's land, aren't they? You know, boxers. And it's like a monopoly, isn't it? But without giving them a contract. They've got it in their head that there's a chance to go on Sky.
Yeah.
So they daren't speak to anybody else. So where does that leave all other promoters? You know, the guys who are not got TV deals, or the people who are on brink of TV deals. It's fucking wrong. And when Eddie got that contract, he said they were going to change boxing for the bench, and he even sent me an email 2 weeks ago. Listen, I just want everybody to do well, unlike you, Russ. I said, what are you fucking on about, like me? It's a fucking monopoly. I swear to God, it's wrong, man. It fucking drives me crazy.
Russ, I'm going to move on now. I'll give you a ring back when we do Josh Warrington later, okay? Cheers, see ya. Big Russ there, everybody. Right, let's get this shit finished off because I'm conscious of the time. There was nothing on the New Zealand on the card, was there, of any note?
Don't think so, mate.
Gotta talk about Gamboa.
Yeah, we're going on to
yeah.
Gamboa now, Dave. Let's get you first. There was actually a couple of upsets on that card, Dave. Abraham Lopez lost to Jesus Rojas as well. But Robinson Castellanos, with 12 losses on his record, made Gamboa quit. What the hell's going on, Dave? Talk me through it.
This was actually a pretty good fight. The commentary was great too. You had Bernardo Onsuna, Teddy Atlas, and Bernard Hopkins all sitting ringside. It was very old school. They were just like yelling at each other, disagreeing on things, giving their opinions. But Gamboa, I mean, Teddy Atlas had it pretty much exactly right. It reminded me of the when he called Ismail Silak's technical flaws, and then immediately after they were exposed. Same thing happened to Gamboa. This Castellanos guy, he's a guy who he lost more fights of a Salido case, where he's not as good as Salido, but he's got some on-the-job training, and he's actually become quite a competent fighter, and he's actually more fundamentally sound than Gamboa is, despite the difference in hype and ranking and resume and all that. He did get knocked out by Escandon, who I've always said was shit, but I don't know. It happened. I guess styles make fights. And anyway, this style made for a pretty good fight. Gamboa he left himself wide open, and he kept making the same mistakes. Is Carlos Gamboa his dad or his uncle, or it's somebody in his family that trains him? I think that's a mistake too. The guy didn't really have. He said some good things like don't stay relaxed and don't get desperate and that sort of thing. But he never gave him any technical advice. And technical advice is what Gamboa badly needs if his career is going anywhere but into the shitter. Because as the commentator said, his talent is dissipating. He doesn't have that speed, doesn't have the explosiveness, and as he's up at this weight where he's not as physically imposing, he's in real trouble. And Castellanos, props to him, showed guts. He was there to win, landed some big shots, and he went with what worked. And Gamboa then quit on his stool, which was pretty disappointing.
Andy, Odlanier Solis, Jorge Luis Gonzalez, even Rigondo to an extent, Luis Garcia, who was over here, Mike Perez for different reasons. Is Gamboa just going to be another one of these Cuban guys who just doesn't fulfill his potential for whatever reason?
Another tragic tale of wasted youth, in my opinion, mate. At featherweight, he was really a beast, actually. I just think you're looking at a guy, he's off the gear, right? I know he's 35 now and stuff. He's had a lot of amateur fights, and that's what almost 30 pro fights or whatever it is. So he's obviously got a lot of miles in the clock and that. But at featherweight, he was really good. Never really got that defining breakout fight, against Lopez. I know he beat Salido. He's always shown that kind of vulnerability. It's always been the question with some of the Cubans and stuff. They've got all this skill and all this good foot movement and stuff, but the chin and the resilience has always been called in question. As Dave says, at the first knockdown, he was trying to lead with a left hook and got just caught right down the middle with a right hand. I actually thought that, for a split second, he was knocked out. He got up, fair play to him. In the next round, the same mistake again. He tried to lead with the left hook, got dropped again with a right hand. I did think though I got to give him a wee bit of credit because even after he got dropped, he did try kind of fight his way back into it and stuff. I don't know if it's an injury or whatever it is, but he sat in the corner and just basically says to his corner he wasn't going to go back out, and that was it. I did think he was looking a bit kind of pudgy. I think the fight was at lightweight, something like 133 pounds, whatever it was. But if it was possible, and I don't think it is going to be now, he should have been doing it 130. If possible, 126. That's where he should have been. He should have really cleaned up there. It's just, I say it's another tragic tale. Another wasted. That pisses me off more than wasted talent.
Yeah.
It really does piss me off because this guy. Okay, the Cubans don't draw and stuff, but at the same time, as you make your own legacy, okay, he's left a legacy of some sort. But as a pro, he just hasn't really kind of backed up. He has got a couple of good wins in his resume. You can't knock him for that. Okay, Dallas Perez isn't great, but Barrios was okay. Salido was a decent win. Matagua gave Lopez fucking serious problems. Walter Strada, I know he used to kick around about world level for a wee bit as well. So he has got some good names on the record and that, but it's a tragic tale of what might have been.
But Andy, if you look at the likes of, say, Yunieski Gonzalez and Sullivan Barrera, not the most technically accomplished Cubans, if you could just take their work ethic and their desire and attitude and just implant it into these more talented guys, you'd have one hell of a fighter on your hands.
Oh, there's another one. I mean, I don't know if you mentioned his name, but Orlando Solis. Did you mention his name?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
That's another tragic tale away. You know, Rigondo. We all know what's happening. Well, we don't know what's happening with him. He's just no fucking fighting. Period. You know, I've started to watch some of the stuff from the WSB. Like I said, I don't know if you guys remember. You remember De La Cruz? He's a light heavyweight guy, big lanky guy.
Yes.
That guy he's fighting WSB, but he's totally elusive. But if you look at it, his fundamentals aren't all that great. I don't think. You know, he jabs, he moves, he kind of like salsas about the ring, so to speak. You know, that guy alone, I think he would be the same situation if he ever turned pro. You know, he would get funned out at some point. He would really get. Yeah, I think he would get. If he got caught, he'd probably stay down as well.
Donnie, if you're still with us, do you want to say anything about Gamboa? Do you think that the fight with Juan Manuel Lopez might happen in some kind of freak show situation?
I mean, really, like, I just hope that Juan Manuel Lopez doesn't fight on. I mean, he's just, he's been in a lot of wars. He's a guy who's not that old in absolute terms, but in ring terms is. So for his sake, I don't think I'd really want to see that one, and I think it would clearly end with Gamboa beating him up.
I heard about that. I don't know if this is true. It's sort of related, not to the fight, but to Juanma. Is he having that fight with that coach, like a real actual fight?
Talked about, wasn't it? It was talked about.
The pushes him out to go to charity. I think I don't know if it's happened or no, but I think it did.
Donnie, what about Gamboa Castellanos? Did you see anything of it?
I did not, mate.
No
Casual.
Right. Yes, we've got the fights next week. Coming up later on in our preview section, Josh Warrington, Kiko Martinez, and Sky are running on the same night in Birmingham as well. Yafai is fighting against somebody. We've also got Josh Tetlow on the call. Josh, before you jump in, Tommy, did you see anything of Gamboa? Do you care for a couple of seconds before we move on?
I've just skipped to the end of it, mate, just to watch. I'm quitting. I've not really seen any cards, so can't comment really. Yeah.
No problem, Tommy. We're going to Josh. Josh, unmute yourself. The floor is yours. What do you want to talk about?
What's happening, guys? You all right?
Yep, not too bad.
Good. Who's planning on going to Canelo GGG? Are we all undecided?
I'm in deep negotiations and who to go on. I don't know if I'll be there. I might try and do Friday to Sunday just for a couple of days, but I'll need to see.
Well, I was planning on going to Conor Mayweather, but obviously that's not going to happen now. Dana White said today, so I'm a bit gutted about that.
Josh, you're a bit quiet. Did you want to put the mic a bit closer to your mouth?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Shout a bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, a bit better. Go ahead, man.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, obviously I was planning to go to Conor Mayweather, but plans are a bit ruined now. So I'm definitely going to go to this 100%. I'm going to book it tomorrow.
I'm not quite hearing you there, Josh. I'm not sure whether there's some kind of sound issue or what. And if you want to rejoin the call and we'll try and get you back in there. Right, let's move on. Andy, I'll tell you what, I'll give this to Hater Dave Lowback. Hater Dave, we've got a question from Darren Parsons, and I think I know what the answer is going to be on this one. He says, regarding Kiko and Christopher Vibrace being used 3 times each, who is the best fighter that UK promoters seem to be bringing over here to test our guys? Come on, your man, Brian Rose, Fort Kell Brook.
I was going to say Carson Jones. At least he gets some wins and he pushes guys.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the only one I can think of that sometimes upsets the apple cart, isn't it?
And see your friends that are listening on Matchroom, get the fucking Sam Egginton fight made, eh? Come on now. That's a fight we all want to see.
What's this?
Carson Jones against Sam Egginton. Carson Jones against Sam Egginton. I want to see that fight.
I'd enjoy that.
Oh, I can't wait for that one. I tell you, it's actually that bad. I thought I actually went and poured myself a nice treble of Dalmore there. So fucking shite that fight is.
Any others, Dave? I suppose you don't really care, do you? Coming over for the UK guys?
No, I mean, it's not a UK, but like one of ours who always used to come over to Europe and do pretty well was Cunningham.
Yep.
Terence Crawford, of course, came to Scotland. No, yeah, but it's not a common thing.
Didn't Cunningham get stopped by Hernandez though? Was it?
No,
did he lose on
no.
points?
It was technical decision. I think the first fight when I cut, but he was badly hurt in both fights. I think he lost his second fight on points. I think.
Yeah, and he
did
stopped
lose the
Hook,
second
didn't
one.
he? Yeah.
The first one was really going his way at the time of the stop. Like it looked like they pulled him out with a cut just so that they could avoid Cunningham turning it around and knocking him out.
What fight was it that Nazi Richardson soaked all the ring in that with the water? Was that the Hernandez fight?
Sorry, it was the first. I think it was the first fight, mate. Because if you look at it, I remember Cunningham got dropped, then he went down like Bambi on ice, didn't he? The fucking legs were spread like a $2
right.
beer, man.
The round, that's right, aye.
But what about swim without getting wet?
That's just Shane Mosley, mate, against Don Margo. No, wasn't he? It was Hopkins against Tarver, was it no?
It was both. He always says it.
All right, there we go.
Don, a question for you from Mickey D. He says, what do the guys think is driving promoters to make these big fights in 2017? It's getting pretty competitive and it seems to be across all levels at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that, what first of all, pay-per-view is died down to weather. And over that bullshit anymore. It's like if they want to see good fights, just make the
Up a wee bit, Donny.
fucking fights because it's just sense. Pardon?
You were breaking up a bit there, Donna. Do you want to try again? Sorry. Donny.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead now.
No, I was just saying. I said, I think there isn't these huge pay-per-view pots. There isn't many of them going around, and thank you. And
He's down that treble.
Right, cut it out, you pair. Let him speak.
So I just think that maybe they're just thinking, hey, you know what? People aren't going to go for this bullshit anymore. Like, let's just make these fights and let's just make them happen. Also, I know that at least in terms of Al Heyman. He's in the last year of that deal. So if he wants to get, the networks to pay for his content, he's going to have to match his guys up, right, and put on, do good numbers on television, which he has, by the way, with the Thurman, Thurman Garcia and all that. So I mean, he's been getting better numbers, and then of course, I think in the heavyweight division in general, I mean, there's just. I think people are just going to start mixing it up because it's like, the Vlad era is gone. Before, Vlad was the only payday and everybody was just, like not fighting anybody. And now the division's like wide open. So there's no, clear boss of the division yet. So guys will fight each other. So I just think in general, like things are just coming around. Sometimes having the ability to make too much money, like I think with say the Pacquiao Mayweather fight and things like that, I think it actually just complicates things. And now that you have some of these mega paydays kind of taken out of the sport, it's like guys are just going to fight each other.
Thanks for that, Donny. Andy, Ian Pybis has asked us a question on Twitter. He said, with George Groves set to make his 4th bid for a world title, who do you, Andy, consider the best Brit never to win a world title? There's an obvious one, isn't there?
Errol Graham.
Yeah, that's what I said. Any others you can think of? Henry Wharton was thrown in on Twitter. That was quite a good one. He was a good fighter in the day.
Aye, he was a good fighter back in the day.
Big left hooker.
Aye. So I think who else? I was thinking about someone doing it lightweight, but
Paul Smith Jr. You weren't going to see Paul Smith Jr. Were you, mate?
No, I was going to say him, mate. I'm not going to say he was good enough to win a world title, but he was ranked 4 in the world at one point. It was John Simpson. I'm not going to say that he was good enough to win a world title, but I was always a big fan of him. He always put it on the line, got a raw deal in a couple of fights and that. But I just thought, even though he never got to a European title fight, I just like to have seen him maybe just get like one chance, because back in them days when he was fighting that, world title fights were really hard to get back in that day unless you were really connected. And I'm no way saying that Simi would win a world title. I'm just saying, I was a fan of his. He was highly ranked at the time in that. I did think it maybe, if you think about who's got world title fights in the past and that, you could say he probably deserved one.
Kurt's not here.
I'm going to see Kevin Mitchell for the talent he had. There have been 4 world titles. He should have really won a world title.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Hey to Dave. I was,
Jamie Moore as
I was
well.
just going to say, hey, today I was going to say Jamie Moore. He was messed about for years, and Maloney didn't help the cause either.
I was going to say Audley.
He shouldn't have even been fighting for a world title, let alone winning one.
Kurt would say otherwise.
Kurt would indeed say otherwise. Any more shouts? No, we shall move on. Right, Dominic Henry's back on the call. Dominic, how are we hearing you? Dominic?
He's
Dominic, give me a shout.
He's not talking.
That's his second knockdown, Steve. Third one's going to stop the fight under the old WBO rules.
Yeah. You're off mute, Dominic.
I think he's taking a vow of silence, like one of those Trappist monks.
They always go well on radio. Sorry, Donna.
Check your mic's turned up, Dominic. Check it's turned up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you now.
Sorry, Steve. I got hard times for a technophobe like me, but
Right, go on ahead. What do you want to talk about, man?
well, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but what I'll say is basically on Golovkin is like the best way I can put it. He's like a woman whose biological clock is ticking, isn't he? Like he needs that fight. And he needs it very, very soon. I agree. I think it was Donnie said. I think he probably has enough left. He probably just about has enough left to beat Canelo. But I actually think someone like Charlo has a better chance than Canelo. Jamal Charlo probably has a better chance than Canelo to beat Golovkin or give him more trouble. But you know, I'm just happy the fight's been made. I actually thought I thought that they would probably. Golden Boy would probably leave it a bit longer, probably to next May, Cinco de Mayo next year. But I think it got to the stage where they couldn't really, for their own save face, they couldn't really hold out any longer, because if they did, I think the brickbats would just become too much for them, really. But I'm just glad glad the fight's been consummated. But yeah, on the I heard the boy saying earlier about the BT coverage last night, and I stayed up to watch it. But for Buncey's hilarious. I mean, before the fight, he was basically saying that Chavez. He didn't say that Chavez was going to win, but he said he's going to give this guy a really tough, like not a tough fight, but a hard enough fight. But you know, for me, I was saying to someone earlier, the surprise for me was that people were surprised by the sheer paucity of Chavez's effort. I mean, this guy's just a complete farce. You know, he's I never expected anything different to what went down there last night. It was just a glorified spar, an exhibition.
Chavez didn't even use his height or reach or anything. Donnie, do you want to jump in there?
Well, I was going to say, it did surprise me, because I mean, he had, you know, he didn't always train like a champ, but when he got into the ring in the past, he did usually fight, you know, with everything he had. He's a limited fighter, but, you know, I mean, he usually gave it all in the ring, even if he didn't give it all in training. And I did think, though, that he would have, that at the very minimum, just like I said, the pride factor would have motivated him to fight with some sort of urgency, especially down the stretch when he was losing. And he just didn't. I mean, it was just totally inexplicable. So, I mean, I was surprised by that. I mean, if you saw that coming, then you know a whole lot more than I do, I guess. But I mean, the way he had fought against Zabik, Andy Lee, you know, Martinez. I mean, he did give it all in those fights.
What do you think about that, Dominic?
Yeah, I mean, Richie Woodall was making a similar point. He was basically saying that, you know, for someone with those sort of physical advantages, you know, you'd think he would get up on his toes and stick the jab out and try and there was rumours that he was going to try and fight like that early on and then come on strong later in the fight. But I mean, right from the start, from the first round, you know, it was clear that he was just on a survival mission. There was no concept of, you know, what he was going to try to do. But the disappointing thing was that, you know, Richie Woodall said, and it was one of Richie's better stints on the sort of broadcasting side, but he said after the fight that there wasn't even an attempt to rough Canelo up or, you know, put the shoulder in or or try anything. But just on a brief tangent, Steve, the one thing I want to say is, and I saw it was mentioned earlier by the guy, the writer, I think he's originally from Belfast, Paulie Gibson, on Twitter. He was based, and I had the same thought when I was watching the fight live. He was talking about Kenny Bayless, the referee, and he was really getting on my nerves. He was warning them when there was no need to warn them, when they were putting their heads together, warning them for low blows that were basically uppercuts. I mean, it wasn't really. He was just being a minor irritant when there was just no need to do it. It was just. I prefer someone like Weeks was doing I think Weeks was doing the first fight, the Jojo Diaz fight. I prefer a referee that's discreet, that gets the message across firmly, but does it in a discreet way. Like, Harvey Dock, as you say, Harvey Dock's very good. Victor Loughlin is the best, but that guy, Kenny Bayless, I just thought there's nothing wrong with two fighters, when their heads are resting on each other. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. But I just thought he was too eager to get himself in the too eager to get.
Agree. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Hey, today, do you want to say that Russell Moore should have been in the ring?
No, please, no. But Bayless used to be better than he is. I think there was some controversy about the Mayweather Maidana rematch where he seemed to be protecting Floyd. In this, it actually, not that Chavez had any chance regardless, but it looked to me like he was protecting Canelo. Like whenever Chavez would do something, which wasn't very often, which made it even more frustrating that he would say something about it. He was saying, keep him up, low blows. Like even when he threw headshots, it was bizarre. I mean, it's bad enough Chavez isn't doing anything on his own, but now you're going to make him fire even less. That's just what this fight needs.
I thought it was interesting. It was funny at the end of the fight, and usually there's like some sort of embrace between the fighters. That Canelo, he was just consumed with such disdain for the efforts that Chavez has put in. He just sort of topped his glove and sort of and just sort of walked past him. It was just sort of very telling. The whole thing was just pathetic. It was. It was so disappointing for one thing Bunce said, which I did agree with after the fight, for like a big Cinco de Mayo fight. Can you remember such a letdown, just such a depressing effort? It was just, and it's just. I think that with Chavez Jr, it's a deeper story. It's like something that goes beyond what was happening in that ring last night. It's sort of there's almost something tragic about it. He's the son of a famous father, but it's like he's not a fighter. He's not. It's not his true vocation in life, and sorry to get a bit deep, but it's just I don't think he had any business being in the ring last night. To go through, someone said earlier, to go through all the effort to make the weight. And no doubt a very expensive corner he was employing as well. Talking of which, they didn't really cover themselves in much glory, But at least the main, the big ones happen in September. That's a silver line, I suppose.
Well, the big one's on, exactly. Is there anything else you want to move on to, Dominic?
Hughie Fury.
Yeah.
This guy's just. What I can't understand, I heard, seen Frank Warren put the tweet out yesterday saying that there's going to be now a new 30-day negotiating period, after which, if there's no agreement, they go to another push. But what I can't understand is what is wrong with the previous situation where they lost the push, but why is that no longer valid? Surely they can just rearrange a new date.
It's a strange one, isn't it?
But basically, it is, because what they're doing is they're just trying everything they can to get home advantage, and they've no intention of ever fighting this guy if it's not over on these shores. But they tell the world and his wife that they're fighting men. They're just. The other thing, I sent you that thing. You'll probably read it out later. The value of the week. The guy putting his top, his top 7 rate heavy, which he had Hughie Fury in at number 5. What this guy has done to warrant that sort of people talking about him? It's just he's trading just like Eubank Jr. He's he's not as bad as Eubank Jr. is not as bad as Hughie in terms of what he's accomplished, but to a greater or lesser extent, they're both trading on their surnames. And if Hughie didn't have the surname that he did, he would just be another cipher.
Good point, Dave. Is there anything you want to add? Hater?
No.
You'd unmuted yourself there. You'd pulled the trousers down, and I thought you were getting ready.
No, I was disappointed with the effort of Chavez, so there will be no trousers down.
Dominic, just before we move on and let you go, Josh Warrington's fighting Kiko Martinez next week. Is there any comment you have on that fight?
Yeah, Kiko's he's definitely passed it a long time. Is he just over the hill, or is he shot? I think he's probably shot, but I wouldn't be surprised.
He's off the gear as well.
Kiko?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
definitely. He was on the gear, like.
Yeah, I think I always remember one of my memories of when he fought Card for the world title, not the European title fight, but the world title. I don't know if you can remember this, Steve, but I think it was about 10 seconds before the final bell, the 12th round, and Carl was nearly there, and Kiko hit him this right hand to the body, and it looked like it caught Carl plumb just under the left elbow, and it's one of those moments you sort of have a deep intake of breath, and you sort of think. But he was at that time, he was definitely, there was definitely. You look at the size of his back. He was there was suspicions over him, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he cut. I don't rate Warrington at all. I don't think he's European level. He's not. I wouldn't even say he's in that sort of intermediate range between European and world level, where like someone like Quigg is. But I'm not really too invested in it. It's he's gone over there it's basically Eddie's sort of paid him, and he's basically allowed Frank to pick up that sort of lead situation. But
Leeds, cocaine.
Excellent stuff, Dominic. Thanks very much for jumping on. We'll catch you again in future weeks, hopefully.
Take care, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. See you later.
Yeah, bye.
Cheers. Dominic Henry there, a real life friend of mine. Right, let's stay on this Warrington Martinez theme then, shall we? Andy, let's get you in first. We're going over to the First Direct Arena on BT Sport. Frank Warren has indeed picked up Josh Warrington. Do you agree with Dominic's assertion there that he's not even in that fringe sort of world-class level, Warrington?
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, there's no shame. Not everybody can be world level, is what we've said. Josh Warrington, in my opinion, is probably at best European level. He might prove us wrong. He might step up, and he might. I don't know. Where's he ranked again? Is it IBF? Is it top 5?
He's high with the WBC. Isn't he high with the WBC, Andy? I think he's about top 2 or 3, isn't he?
Right. Here we are, number 3 with WBC. He is number 6 with IBF, and not yet is he ranked with WBO. So Warren will need to get that fixed. Go on, Frank. I know you listen to us, mate. You need to get him ranked with WBO, short as. But I suppose if you've got a guy who shifts tickets, I believe he does anyway. He does get a fist for his crowd in there. They're all coked up and doing lines and injecting and dropping tablets and all that sort of stuff. But as long as he's selling at arenas and getting the crowds in and stuff, he's going to be kept, probably either protected or try and manoeuvred into a world title shot just through ranking bobble title fights or whatever it is, and then get him in that way. But I'll be honest, there's not one title holder at that weight division dare I say that Josh Warrington stands any chance. Can he punch? Okay, he's fit, but we've never really seen him kind of fucking backed up and tested. But there's no one, absolutely no, unless if he gets that Selby fight and Selby's absolutely, and we know he is, but if he is absolutely dead, drained at that weight, and just like Chavez last night, he just can't get the shots off because there's nothing left. That might be his only chance, but nah, he's no a world level fighter. And as I say, it might be a situation where it might be like Ricky Burns. He just works with it, and he gets a title shot. And on the night, he might just deliver. You just never know.
Just a slight tangent, actually, Andy, talking about Selby and a possible Frampton fight. whenever I was at the Burnett Haskins press conference, we got a word with Jamie Sanigar, Chris's son, who is part of Lee Selby's management team. And he said that negotiations have never taken off with Frampton at all. They want the fight. They said that whenever they mention it, it's, we're not really sure. From Barry's crowd, this is what Sanigar was saying. And he said, basically, give us the call, get in touch. If we get the call soonish, then Selby will be ready for the end of July. So just an interesting side note.
That's an interesting side note because, as Tommy says, well, if Carl doesn't get somewhat decent opponent, which I don't expect on this notice, because I heard, or I did read somewhere that Selby was now getting mandated to fight Jonathan Barrios. So that then left, because I think we spoke about this. We says, like, well, okay, who's Frampton then going to fight? I mean, the only ones we could think of was Jesus Quella or maybe Zambrano, but Zambrano got knocked out there last week. So if he's not going to get some sort of kind of decent level fighter for the end of July, I might just sack that off and go to Vegas myself, So it's a bit disappointing actually. That one actually, if the Barrios Selby fight's not happening, you would think, why not just push for that fight with Selby?
I can't remember. If I'd have had any sense, I would have got the Sanigar audio together and I could have played it on the show. But I'll try and cut it and put it on the YouTube channel for people to listen to. It was quite an interesting interview.
Or get Kurt to edit into the download section of the podcast.
Yeah, or maybe do that, or maybe speak to Kurt. Tommy, I don't know if you want to comment on what me and Andy are talking about, or if you want to just go straight into Warrington against Kiko.
No, just to touch on Frampton or that. There's no fights or that. Remember that guy Cesar Juarez at 40 and Anito Denier came on strong late against Denier?
Oh yes.
I wouldn't. He's a good fighter. How not get him there? That'd be a decent fight. I'd pay to see that. Somebody like that.
Yep, that's a good show.
I just think, if it's late July, they're talking about...
It's not going to be a top opponent, so that's kind of what I'm thinking, This
is the thing, mate, but they also want to hold it in a stadium, so if they're going to hold it in a stadium fight, what's Windsor Park? I forget the attendance, just say maximum 20,000, right?
Yeah.
They need something. They need to, they're going to at least, me in the title situation, that I don't believe in it, but to sell it for a stadium fight, you could sell it at Odyssey like that, no fucking problem. But Windsor Park, I think you need some sort of title involved here. You say Juarez, Queller, I just don't think the opponent's there. Unless it's like Santa Cruz, I think which would probably sell out Windsor Park just based off of those last two fights.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Gary Russell, no chance. That guy doesn't fight at all. Lee Selby, we know he's not a big ticket seller, and Oscar Valdez, as we know. I just can't see it. The other person who I'm keeping my eye on as well is this the Filipino Mark Magzayo. He seems to be kind of really exciting to watch stuff, but he's not going to come over here and shot. He fought there a couple of weeks back, so he's not going to fight. Quiggle sniff it out, I suppose. Vitietka. Christian Miares fought a couple of weeks back, but he's honing in another WBC title shot. So
Vetjeka would be a good one, Andy, because from making it point of view, because Gary Hyde's his manager and he's openly called to make the fight.
Has he? So there you go. But would Barry and Gary make business? I don't know.
Stranger things have happened, I suppose.
Well, they did promise us a couple of weeks back that we're going to gaze an opponent, but this is what now? 7th of May?
Starting to drag on it.
You've got 10 weeks, so I think opponent needs to be fair, if it's going to be like some sort of world title eliminator, some sort of interim title fight, I think you've got to give the opponent needs to be announced within the next 2 weeks because you need to give him a camp.
Yeah. Tommy, tell me about this Warrington Martinez fight. Has Martinez been through the mill too many times? Is he being recycled that once too many?
I think he has been. I think he's a bit long in the tooth now. He's obviously had the fights with Carroll. He's had the fight with Quig where he got done. Leo Santa Cruz. He's had a lot of tough fights. Even when he was fighting, like say when he won the title against, he was fighting like say Hasegawa and all that. They're all good fighters. He's not getting any younger. He's definitely seen better days. I think Warrington should probably beat him. I don't know if he'll stop him or no, but it's definitely a fight he should win. I'm just looking at his box right now. Martinez, I just seen he just had a draw in Spain not long ago again, and it was a 6-rounder. The guy's definitely seen better days. It's a fighter that if Warrington is going to do anything, he should definitely be dealing with him. Everybody else has, and they've dealt with better versions.
Can I say, by just on the Spanish team, see some of these fights, not these like 6 and 8 rounders that these fighters are fighting. I've noticed at least 3. Liam Smith being one of them. There was one a Russian, I think is it Maxim Gazaev, I think his name is.
Yeah.
And that one, and Tommy just mentioned there. There's something odd about how these fights are all, because Spain, it was about 3 years ago, Spain says that they were banning professional boxing, right? Then it came back into fold, and now you get all these fucking shows coming into Spain.
Yeah.
There's Russian money. There's Russian money behind this. I'm fucking certain of it.
It's funny you should say that, Andy, because I was looking on the box rec actually just today before I came on the pod, and I thought, oh, there's 3 or 4 shows that are scheduled for Spain. I thought, like you, the government had said that they weren't happy with it, or it was going to be, the Spanish Boxing Federation even went out of the EU or something anymore, are they?
Yep, that was exactly my thinking, mate. I mean, the only fighter, mate, there's a channel on YouTube. It's called Planet Boxeo. It's a Spanish station, and the only one I can pick up is Kerman Larrera. He's a welterweight. He's ranked 4 with WBA just now. He seems to be the only top ranked Spanish fighter, and he seems to be appearing on there. But as I said as well, and you said these small show fights that they've got on and stuff like that, it's got Russian money connections all over it.
Yeah, there's definitely something weird going on. Right, Donny. Yeah, there's definitely something weird going on. My mute button for one. Right, Donny, do you care about Josh Warrington against Kiko Martinez? Didn't you say it was one of your lifelong ambitions to go to a show in Leeds?
Yeah, absolutely, because I love Coke.
Relatives. I've got relatives in Leeds, actually. I can set you up for the night if you want.
There we go. Andy,
Leeds,
well, good night.
Man. Oh, it's a shithole, man. Honestly, God, but we can have a good time in Leeds, no problem at all. I know the places.
Go on then, Donny.
You're right next to Bradford as well, mate, so you've got everything going on around there, eh?
Aye.
Donny, are you going to be throwing the beach ball into the ring halfway through the Warrington-Martinez fight?
I'll never forget that rant that Alex Morris had about the crowd at Leeds, and it was the day of the beach ball, or the Sunday after the beach ball incident or whatever. And yeah, that was a classic one. I want to revisit that at some point now. But no, I won't say too much because most of what I would have said has already been said. So I'll just say that I am picking Warrington to take care of a very much faded Martinez, and that's it.
No problem, Donny. Dave, any Leeds love from you? Any Warrington-Martinez love?
Warrington 120-108. Probably won't watch it.
I think Martinez will probably get a few rounds, maybe early doors. That he is. Yeah, I mean, who goes for super bantamweight to bantamweight? You know, no many fighters can be successful. I mean, go down in weight divisions and stuff. But as I say, it's also respect that that his prime years, so to speak, before he met Frampton the second time, he's actually fucking fighting better than ever. And while at the same time you've got that Dr. Fuentes there in Spain who's connected to all the cyclists, the blood doping and all that sort of stuff, and 2 boxers were named in it, yet the results and the blood bags were to be destroyed. And it's just so coincided that Martinez's peak then just ends around about that same time. Fucking right, come on.
See, the thing is, they named 2 boxers. Campillo was the same. His fucking dropped off right at the same time as him, didn't he?
He did, mate. He did. He mentioned that, and I'm a big fan of Campillo as well. Campillo's always.
Yep.
Martinez has had a strange career, Andy. I remember in 2007 he was booked to fight at the King's Hall against Wayne McCulloch, and at the weigh-in he came in over the weight, and the fight had to be cancelled, and he said he couldn't make super bantamweight again. This was December 2007.
Well, that's you and your knowledge, Steve, picking that one up again. You know, as I say, but. Who was the other Spanish fighter? Was it Solomon Mumbai? Is that the guy who fought Gavin Rees?
Oh, yes, I forgot about that. Wasn't he French? He was French, wasn't he?
French.
It was another
French Cameroonian, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, who was another Spanish fighter caught up in all? I'm trying to remember who it was. It was a Spanish fighter, something along the same name, Solomon something. I forget his fucking name is, but well, to be honest, as I said, I don't know who he's been dealing with and stuff like that. But if he's failed to make super bantamweight, when was that, Steve?
That was 2007.
2007, and so that's 2012. He fought Carroll in the rematch.
He knocked out Dunn in the August, and then he was supposed to fight McCulloch in the December, a week before John Duddy fought Howard Eastman, and then the whole show was scrapped.
Is that he fought he fought Randall Monroe after that, didn't he?
Yes, I think he did. Yeah, 2008, December 2008. He fought. Was it? No, it wasn't 2008. Was it March? It doesn't matter anyway. But yeah, you're right.
He knocked out Jason Booth, right, for the vacant European title, and then he lost to Carroll in the 9th round. He beats Jonathan Romero, Jeffrey Matabula, who, to be honest, he was a big lanky prick, but Hasegawa, who we all felt was shot, but it just showed it was just past his prime.
He got 1.2 million euros for going to Japan as well.
Oh, there you go. And plus, I think he's promoted by Sergio Martinez, and that's what I dare say they'll do their best to look after him in that as well.
He is, because when he came over to fight Frampton, I managed to get a word with Sergio. Not much, like, because he didn't speak much English, but a handsome man nonetheless, Andy.
Exactly. If I were you, mate, I would have been on my knees and I'd have taken all of them in my mouth.
What a lovely image. Rob Kelly's on the line. Rob, any thoughts of taking Sergio Martinez?
Balls? Including balls, mate. Teabag him, exactly.
What am I joining? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, welcome.
I always have to ask you, can you hear me at the start? Because I had a roll on the first.
Go ahead, man. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, no, I was just wanting to back Tommy up a little bit about his assessment of Canelo. I think Canelo's been protected most. No, honestly, because think back to early in his career, he did make good points about Ryan Rhodes and Matthew Hatton. They were like, I feel a little bit about Canelo like that on the times where he's had his big coming out party. He hasn't really passed the test. Like I feel like he should have stopped Mosley, even though not many people stopped Mosley. I think he probably should have done better against Cotto and Angulo. But he did want big fights. Like Victor Ortiz, he only fought Josecito Lopez because Lopez broke Ortiz's jaw. That was the lined up fight. He did want the Paul Williams fight, and then obviously Paul Williams got into that tragedy. So he has wanted fights, and I think he did want the Golovkin fight, but Oscar was like, nope. And it's something like that we, like, as hardcore boxing fans, forget, like, or really is always in the backdrop. Like, these promoters really only give a shit about the money, and they were building that fight for this time. And, like, you know, you mentioned the referee. I'd say they obviously had the WWE. I was expecting the Undertaker to pop up at the end when they were bringing out Golovkin, like, to his theme music and all that. Like, you know, obviously they were like, you know, no dings on Canelo tonight. He's, you know what I mean? This fight is made in the background already. So, but I do think Canelo has won the big fights earlier in his career and just been a bit protected by Oscar. But I think the fight itself was a bit of a kind of an unknown quantity. I thought Chavez would, as I said last week, would find Canelo, and I thought maybe Canelo as a middleweight. I think his best weight is actually 154. I think as a middleweight, I didn't know if the power was going to carry up, but he didn't need the power because he was just lighting Chavez up all night. But yeah, like, I think maybe in that fight, Golovkin probably just on the jab, similar to Lemieux performance. As much as I want Canelo to win, I think Golovkin still probably has too much for him. But yeah, I'm glad to see Matthysse back. I don't know what the scope is with him, but I'd love to see Matthysse Broner at some stage. I think I don't know why.
Yeah, we were saying that too, Rob. We were saying
I said the same, mate. I want to see that fight. I want to see fucking Broner. I mean, I didn't wish ill on many people, but Broner, I would dearly love to see fucking flatlined and needing CPR or something like that on the canvas. He's a fucking AIDS-ridden victim. An absolute fucking... He is an apology of a human being, by the way. He should be donated to medical research.
It's a way, like, it just mirrors, like, boxing just mirrors society these days. Like, they just reward this nonsense. You know what I mean? As long as he has a social media presence, you know, he's on the gram. You know what I mean? He's going to be in these big fights, like, where he's getting $1 million paydays for, you know, hopefully taking an ass whooping against Lucas. That would be nice.
Hey, Rob, would you rate Broner as a rapper, by the way?
Oh, man, he's about as good as he is at 147.
A fat, over-bloated.
Yeah, exactly, just nonsense. Like, I remember I was actually on that Mauro Ranallo's podcast right before Canelo and Floyd, like, and I thought it would be like 10 rounds to 2, just because I thought that fight was too early. But I think he made a good point earlier about that. I think, like, he fought the wrong fight on the big night that night. Like, I think he tried to box Floyd and then just got completely bemused and just went out of the fight. But sidebar, I don't want to get too carried away. I just saw on Twitter today that's the anniversary of Castillo Corrales won. So, just that when the fight is what a fight that was. You got to get inside on him now, right? So
yeah, exactly. Old Joe Goosen as well. What about Joseph Parker? Briefly, Rob, did you see anything in his performance at all that would trouble the big guys?
No, and as much as I slaughtered Joshua and got stick for it, I think he destroyed Parker. I think Fury played with him. I think Klitschko knock him out. Dillian White could probably beat it. Well, I don't know. I don't know what Dillian. No, maybe not. But you know, these guys, like, I don't think he's gonna trouble any elite fighter, Joseph Parker. His grandfather, or his promoter, is actually grandfather lives in Wexford. He's an ex-heavyweight. Jack Parsons is his name. And they were saying they thought that Fury was going to pull out of the fight before it even happened. So I don't know what was going on there, but they had an inkling about it.
Right. Rob, it's good to have you on as always. Thanks for jumping on with us.
Thanks a million. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
All the best, mate. Cheers.
Always good to hear from Rob Kelly, unless you're in the YouTube comments, but don't worry too much about them. Just briefly, chopping up the undercard in Leeds. If anybody wants to say anything, then make it quick. About Jazza Dickens, Thomas Patrick Ward, never even heard of him. Josh Leather against Philip Sutcliffe Jr. should be a decent fight. Tyrone Nurse is fighting again. A couple of domestic rivalries. We've got Nicola Adams on the card. I don't see this big heavyweight, Daniel Dubois, down, but anyone want to say anything about the undercard?
Not much, mate. As you say, Leather, Sutcliffe, probably. James Dickens, I don't know what type of fight that'll be at all. But as I say, the rest of the card still kind of full of TBEs and stuff like that. So it's nothing. Right. I mean, it's going to be pretty dry in the next couple of weeks, isn't it? There's nothing much kicking around about at all. I mean, that Sky card is just also abysmal.
The two cards I've got coming up on Sky and BT. Let's don't mix your words. They'll be fucking shit, aren't they?
Yeah. Although BT's Javonta Davis fight should be decent against Wolf.
That's next
week. That's going to be good.
Yeah.
That's going to be good.
It's the week after. We'll be previewing that one next week.
That's next week one.
Yeah. Right, let's get stuck into this Birmingham card then for as much as anybody wants to discuss it.
Do we have to?
Yeah, well, we don't have to, but I'll just say who's on the card, and then you can tell me if anybody wants to speak about it. Khalid Jafai defending his WBA World Super Flyweight title against Suguru Muranaka. Seferino Rodriguez is defending his European title against Sam Eggington. Sean Davis, Gamal Yafai for some WBC international trinket. And a vacant Midlands area title, Ryan Kelly against Adam Harper. Just briefly, Andy, just looking at the WBA, I've really come to a point in my boxing career here where I know that they're not perfect, but the IBF and the WBC have really come to the fore as the two main bodies for me. Like I said, they're both...
You think?
I honestly do, because I know they've got their faults and they've got their problems, but when I see WBA, I just think to myself, is it regular? Is it super? Is it normal? That just discredits it for a start for me. And then when I see WBO, I think Liam Smith. I think Joseph Parker's opponent. So, yeah, the IBF and the WBC, for all their faults, they're pushing ahead at the moment. The other two just aren't credible.
Well, I'll say this for you, right? You're an optimist, Steve. You always have been. But at the same time, you've got Andre Durrell fighting for the interim IBF title against Ustagi. I think it's the end of this month. Now, forget me if I'm wrong here, but is De Gale no an active champion? He's defended his title, so how the fuck do they need to create an interim title for this time? At one point, I think we're talking about an interim bantamweight champion because Lee Haskins was injured. As you say, look at the WBC there last night. They created this fucking shitty title with all this fucking... I don't know what it was. I forget to name it. And then Canelo says, I'm not fighting for WBC titles because he's pissed off because he felt he was getting shoehorned into fighting Golovkin. That's just off the top of my head, to be honest, but I just think each and every single fucking one of them are absolutely putrid. They are fucking shit. They are fucking shit.
I'm right there, mate. See this thing with the WBA right now. They've mandated the Groves and Shudorov fight for the Super
There's
title.
another one.
Why the fuck is that? I'm not saying that Zweig's going to be anything special, but why is Ciro being bumped up and Groves and Shudorov are fighting for the regular title? It's just a cash grab over because of George Groves' name. It's fucked up, man.
Exactly, and the thing is, you've got 154. Lara is the champion, is class super champion. Andrade fights Kulkai and wins some sort of regular bullshit. Tyrone Ziga.
I didn't really care. See where this Groves and Tudorov fight. The winner of that fight's no the world champion in my eyes, and I'm not really high on Zweig or that, but that's just how I look at it.
Here's another one, mate. I'd noticed this one today actually. I think the fight's coming up. Maybe next weekend, I think. Marco Antonio Perabans fighting Avni Yildirim, or Yildirim, he's from Turkey, right? I think he might be a solid fighter.
Yeah.
That is as a final eliminator for WBC 168 title. Meanwhile, Callum Smith's been sitting on that same position for the last 18 months. What the fuck's happening there?
Andy, you're right. I can't even back up my own point. I can't even defend it. But it's just when I hear WBA and WBO now, I just can't see credibility as a world title. I just can't see it.
I just don't think you can see credibility across the board, mate. In all honesty, I mean, I'll put it this way: right? You had Joshua Klitschko the week before. That didn't need a title. It did not need that. All you had was two highly ranked guys at heavyweight wanting to fight. But then the WBA says we're going to put the title into the mix. Last night or 2 days beforehand, Canelo says he's not fighting for the WBC title. Now it's confirmed that for the Golovkin fight, if Canelo wins the fucking fight here, what we want out of this fight here is clarity. Okay, now Canelo is a champion as such. You want a unified champion, which is Golovkin. So you want an undisputed champion. Now, if Canelo wins, right, he's still going to be classed as the man, but the WBC title goes fucking vacant after that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So.
See where the bullshit is going on. That's how I'm so big on. That's how I'm so big on the lineage. To me, these paper titles, they didn't need fuck all these alphabet soup titles. You know who really is the number one on these divisions, and that you get people coming up and saying, "Oh, he's got this IBF title, he's got this, he's got that." What the fuck do they really matter? There's 4 titles in the division.
I know Michael Montero's going to come on this podcast this week. I want to speak to him about this, but he's claiming that AJ is the lineal heavyweight champion right now. Right fucking now, he's claiming that.
I'll tell you
what. He was supposed to come on tonight to discuss that.
Come on here and say that, he's got to get slaughtered, man.
He was supposed to come on tonight, but unfortunately it didn't work out. Right, let's have a look at this Muranaka. I've never even heard of him, but Andy, I suppose you'll know more about him. I'm looking down his box record, right? He's never fought outside of Japan. Okay, we'll give him a pass on that. He's never fought for any form of WBA trinket, and even though it's the WBA title he's fighting for, he's never fought for any other trinkets apart from the Japanese flyweight title. He's never boxed a scheduled 12-rounder. So he's never done the 12-round distance, and he won a majority decision against the 24-15-1 fighter over 8 rounds in his last fight. Why the hell is this guy fighting for a world title?
Well, as you say, mate, it's your pals at WBA again. You know, this guy is currently ranked. What is he ranked now? Give me 2 seconds. He is ranked number 10. So it's a safe defence, shall we say, as such. You know, your five. I'll put it this way. I was looking through his record, and the only one I can think of, what I can remember seeing this guy fight, was some sort of fight against. Give me 2 seconds to find it here. It was the one for the vacant Japanese title. Now, the guy has proven his domestic level in Japan, but at the same time, Japan's got a lot of fighters. Technically, no, that great. I mean, balls, heart, guts. They've got it in spades. As you say, he's not been tested. If you look at his record, there's nothing but fight in Japan. You've had a couple of early defeats, but I just think Yafai, you know, I rate him as such. It's just typical with Hearn fighters and that, you know. It's just I'm going to fucking bag on that, but I just think, you know, Yafai should win this quite clearly, and I'm going to go with a late stoppage actually, but I wouldn't be surprised to go to points, because as I say, the Japs are generally tough motherfuckers.
That's what I think personally on the fight. I'll call it right. I'll break the fight down for you right now. It's going to be a boring 12-round decision for Yafai.
There we go.
Yeah, Muranaka isn't good enough to do anything, but he's good. He's hard enough not to get stopped.
Well, it's like the guy that quick fought. What was the guy that quick fought again? Remember he fought him on the bell.
Simeon, is it? Is that your
No, the
Japanese guy.
Asaki or something.
I'll be like that.
Yeah,
that's what I'll be like.
Yeah. Right, let's get the Americans in. Right, Dave Lowback, let's go Fukushima on this, man. Are you going for Muranaka for the upset or not?
Doesn't know who you fucking that cunt is.
Yeah, I've never seen him. I haven't even seen Yafai in forever. I remember when he was he on Box Nation?
No, he's a Sky fighter, mate.
No, okay.
You're not missing anything, Dave.
Well, I remember he was like even hardcores were touting him as like.
You speak conception. He's a guy that Johnny Nelson says was the new Roy Jones in lighter weights when he first broke through, Dave.
He was he was knocking people out with body shots. I remember early on, and people said, "Well, this is the next big star from the UK." But
can I just say, as I believe that Yafai's a bantamweight, he's boiling down to super flyweight. It's a simple fact: pick up a world title, few defenses, few paydays, but he's really a bantamweight.
He's one of those weight cutting pricks.
That was
he's actually quite a good boxer, to be honest.
Yes,
he's just
mark
up a tee to watch him, eh?
But this isn't something. I mean, he's not fighting a challenge here, so I mean, this is something we shouldn't really be.
I'll put it this way, Dave. I'll put it this way. It was a bit like, you know, how I was talking about Jojo Diaz last night. How he fought. It was like, you know, he didn't have. He looks really good, competent, technically fucking brilliant.
There's no X factor.
Exactly. That is it.
Yeah. But you know that can
No interest then,
that
Dave?
can
No?
lead you. That can take you pretty far, though. Still, I mean, look at Danny Garcia. No real X factor. He can punch pretty well, but he's just a pretty competent boxer, and he's gone very far with that.
Right, Donny, do you have any interest on this one? Donny, Yafai against Muranaka? Donny's more knackered. So we shall move on. I'm not going to bother with the undercards. Anybody want to speak about it? Because I really don't.
Nah, fuck it, mate. Pass on.
Fuck the undercard. Right, James Toney's fighting Mike Shepherd for the vacant WBF title in Michigan.
Legend.
in the Michigan Unarmed Combat Commission.
Can I just say that Mike Shepherd got knocked out off the... He got bent over, lubricated, penetrated off these people. Antonio Tarver, this is off memory. Tarver, Boytsov, Washington, I think, who's highly ranked now. Chagayev fucking erased him. And remember that Joey Abel of all the fucking people ices you in one round.
Joey Unable.
Oh, Joey Unable, aye. Fuck me, man. Jesus, fuck.
So are we
well, if James Toney wins, just didn't be surprised to see them get him over for Joshua so they can be the first person to stop him.
Or Pulev.
First person to stop James Toney, man. Put that on at Wembley.
Oh, man, please don't say that.
Can't see this on the undercard.
Can't see this Tommy Coyle too.
That's terrible. Right, let's move on. We've got a few Twitter questions which we're going to get through right at the very end. Just to remind you, Steve Welling's here. We've got Andy Patterson on the call. Donny is here somewhere. He's more in name than in person. Tommy the Guru Allen and Dave the Hater Lowback. Let's get on with the value of the week. It's not too many this week, so we'll rifle through them.
Thank fuck. That's what we're talking.
I went a wee last week, right? I had a sandwich. I had a smoke.
I'm only joking, Tommy. Sorry, carry on.
I went a wee last week. I had a sandwich. I had a smoke. When barely the week was started getting read out. And I came back.
Still getting read out.
Still getting read out, man. Fucking hell. No, it's cheese and crackers. I was ready for cheese and crackers, man.
There was about 50 of them last week.
Oh, it was fucking mental.
I know. That's why I leave them to the end of the show. And if anybody doesn't like them, then they can just turn the show off and go to bed or do whatever they want to do. Right, let's get through them as quick as we can. Mark Hilfiger has been nominated. He responded to Deontay Wilder, saying that AJ will never fight that pikey bum Tyson Fury. So a bit of casual racism from Mr. Hilfiger there. Thank you. Craig Mastro has nominated Stephen Espinoza for saying that Showtime Championship Boxing will return to a sold-out stadium for Brook against Errol Spence Jr. Belly of the Week, nominated by James Bernard down in Australia. We know the Australians love a bit of bullshit talk, but Robbie Ryan said whenever the AJ against Vladimir Klitschko fight was being discussed, he said that Vitamir Klitschko may have lost today, but I reckon he has potential. He'll probably improve and become a champion in the future. Vitamir Klitschko, plenty of potential there, Andy.
If he takes his vitamin C and that, I suppose he'll be all right, aye?
That's probably one of the worst I've ever heard. By the way, fuck me.
Good old Vitamir. Matthew Skelton has nominated Michael and Laura Scott. Laura said Paul Smith Jr. was robbed in the first Abraham fight. I love boxing, but it annoys me with you lot blabbing on.
Is that aimed at us?
No, I think it was just aimed at Twitter in general for shagging Mr. Paul Smith.
Mr. Paul Smith is a bum. You know, there's nothing that can be said about that simple fact.
That's right. Ben North had nominated Matchroom. They're trying to sell programs from Klitschko against Joshua, basically a late cash-in. And Mr. Burak Ozat said the programs would be better if they didn't say Klitschko was from Kazakhstan. So a bit of a bollocks up there. What about this one, Andy? From Kurt Ward. Russian cruiserweight Dmitry Kudryashov. What the hell was he doing with that sort of machine round him?
No, someone actually tweeted me the link to that website, and I forget what the fuck it was because I was going to say to someone last night about it, and it was like some sort of motion sensor thing. I don't know what the fuck it was. It was like I've actually seen like astronauts train on videos and stuff, and they get spun around about. It's just to basically try to equilibrium with that. That was just pure. I don't know what the fuck it was. It was just pure, like, you know what, I'm a thick cunt, you know. So.
Not to worry, Andy, but yeah, Kurt has tweeted it out. He's on some kind of weird neurological machine moving with the body parts. I don't quite know what it was, but it looked quite impressive anyway. Right, Jamaica, always a good contributor. He put one up. Paul Smith has said, always willing to test yourself against the best, #boxing. And then someone put next to him his box record, all these bums that he's been fighting recently. Yeah, Paul, always willing to test yourself against the best. Joey, Master Mode, sent this in as a question, but I'm putting it forward as Value of the Week for the promoters of Parker. An absolute pay-per-view mismatch. They put it on for pay-per-view for like 55 New Zealand dollars, I think it was, for this Parker fight at the weekend.
Yes, as I says before, though, the only Duco Promotions are a fucking shoddy outfit. I mean, they are. I'm not going to say they're corrupt, right? But I'll put it this way: Sir Bob Jones, who was Parker's manager way back, he basically called. I mean, do you remember the fucking the ring walk, the graduation, Franz Botha? What the fuck? I mean, what the fuck? You know, Botha was like fucking 85 and 3/4 years of age, and fucking Sir Bob Jones saying he even called it out when they beat Reyes. He is not a world champion, and this is what I was saying to people yesterday. People thought I was just pure straight up hating. You know, I said it last week. Ali was classed, even though Ali was at the ring for 3 years. 3 fucking years. People still classed him as a champion. So you may have a different opinion to me, but as Tommy and me will always tell you, the Lineage is the fucking man, and that is it.
Lineage. See, people talk about Adonis Stevenson that day. They say, he's not the champion, he's not fighting everybody. It doesn't mean he's not the champion. What it means is he's a fucking bad champion. The Lineage is the Lineage, and that's it.
So in this, Tommy, just on the pay-per-views as we move on, I think Bernard Hopkins against Murad Hakar was one of the worst pay-per-views I ever paid for, £10 on the original Setanta Sports. So we shall move on. Kurt Ward has sent another one in. The really strange character that is Malik Scott. He put up a picture of himself basically in the nude with all these tattoos and a sort of funny scream mask on. And he put mood, extremely comfortable being alienated. Oh, it was an alien mask, sorry. #odd guy. #rebuilding Rome brick by brick. He is one strange fella, Mr. Malik Scott.
He said it, mate. #odd guy, and it's true. I speak to him once. Well, I used to actually, but he's a fucking renegade.
We had him in the show. We had him in the show a while back, didn't we?
Did I? If it was a couple, I was
back when Mike was hosting.
This isn't the first time he's done something like that. He put his like this weird woman's tits.
You see that?
Up, and he put like putting a cigar in them or something.
Dave, be honest, would you?
Well, I mean, no disrespect to Malik Scott, but if it weren't for the tits, I would not have been able to tell she was a woman.
I'd like to sit my feet.
I've pumped a few pigeon tits before, by the way. Doesn't matter.
She wouldn't make my top 10 horror list, to be honest.
Would you bang Malik Scott, Dave?
Him, you know, he's got a great body.
BBD.
He's probably I don't know. He might have syphilis though, judging by his erratic behavior.
Right, it's you lot who are extending the Value of the Week this week, not me, everybody, if you're listening. Right, Roy Difford has nominated Eddie. No, the WBA. I don't know if anyone saw this open letter that Gilberto sent to Eddie saying about how you're a great promoter. It was a great night. I think he's just looking for a few paydays off Eddie, to be honest with you. The shameless WBA.
The WBA would sell anything to make a few quid. They are a shower of cunts. You know, I seen Shep the other day. They were mentioning about WBA titles in circulation just now, and I did something similar a few years back doing a study. They equate for something like 36 or 35, 36% of the titles on offer just now. There are over 80 titles in boxing. This is what me again. Go back to what me and Tom were talking about the Lineage. People say, "Oh, you can't be so blankered." How the fuck? No, you've got 80 titles out there, but 80 people could potentially call themselves world champions. So there's got to be a Lineage. That's how you can only fucking differentiate this fucking bullshit.
Somebody defending the WBC on Twitter during the week. They said that
Steve Wellens defended them.
Listen, that's what they say. That Golovkin. They tried to make the fight. It wasn't Donny saying something, but they tried to make the Golovkin fight because they wanted to see it. They done the same with Mayweather. She's no, they didn't really. What they done was they seen money in the two fights, and then they made the fucking two fighters mandatory. Exactly. You know, I mean, there's 100 great fights with no money on the line that they haven't made. So that's just bullshit to me.
No, I wasn't defending them, Andy. What I would say is the WBC and the IBF are better than the other two in the same way that the electric chair is better than being stoned to death or thrown in acid.
We heard
Yeah,
you,
I know
Steve.
what
You
you
can't
mean.
take that back.
You're basically saying is they're probably the more fairer, but at the end of the day is they've all got their own fucking trouts and they've got their fucking noses in the trough. They're all after the same thing, money. As Vince would say,
IBF, I mean,
it's all about the money.
it's been
Some
less
IBF love, Dave. Go on.
less than a year since IBF had their man Charles Martin, right, as the heavyweight champion of the world, isn't it?
Yep, and gratefully, actually, even just allowed Eddie Hearn and Kathy Duva to go and just cherry pick that title. Shower of cunts, fuck them all.
Show of cunts, fuck them all, says Andy at 10:30 on a Sunday night. Right, Chris Blackman has nominated Papa Jewett. He said, scenes when Sweet Caroline gets blasted out at Bramall Lane in about 3 weeks' time.
Thank fuck I'm not going to that anymore. Thank fuck. I mean, seriously, thank fuck. I was pumped for that fight at the end stadium. Nah, fuck that.
Just a bit of backup here for the WBA letter and Eddie Hearn. We hated on it, but Mensa at Mensa Otte said, I'll co-sign the letter. At Eddie Hearn, you're a gift to the sport. We should say it more often. You know we care. Keep up the good work.
Team StubHub, baby.
It's safe to say that Eddie will be back on this podcast because of the big Ross. He's never going to be back on this podcast again.
No, I don't think so. I forgot about Big Russ. I was supposed to ring him, but I think we might have to leave him tonight. Right. Lennox Lewis was discussing a few things. He said, this is the fantastic photo of the moment I knocked out Hasim Rahman in 2001. And John Kirkcaldy said, you feeling threatened that AJ is taking your crown as Britain's best ever heavyweight? Bit premature, John.
My God.
Boxing Britain for their UK pound-for-pound top 10. And Sam Friedemann said, here's my UK top pound-for-pound top 10. Callum Smith first, then Billy Joe, AJ, Frampton, Selby, DeGale, Flanagan, Brooke, Groves, Chris Eubank Jr. Dear me. Somebody's dying in the background.
Yeah,
Marcus
me.
Bellinger.
I took a drink of whiskey there, but it was too big for me. No, motherfucker.
Marcus Bellinger has nominated Adam Smith for multiple offences during the Parker fight. Sky Sports has been nominated for saying Joseph Parker is looking as a possible future opponent for Joshua Parker. The BBC went one better. They called Andy Ruiz, John Ruiz. But as I said, guys, with Oquendo Briggs being made, John Ruiz could force his way back into the heavyweight picture quickly enough. Dominic Henry mentioned this earlier. He's nominated Be Real TV. Their heavyweight top 5 has Hughie Fury in at number 5.
They had Wilder against Klitschko, didn't it?
Yep, that's right. Dave Caldwell was saying that basically Jose, whatever you call the Chavez, was a quitter. Toby Robinson says, imagine Bomber or the Smith brothers fighting like that. Couldn't go home and look their families in the eye. And Darren Park finally... Darren Park says, 8 days on and I still find myself chanting, ooh, Anthony Joshua. That main event was unreal.
Sad motherfucker.
Oh dear. Right. I don't know if anyone's got any to add. I'm going for Robbie Ryan for the Vitamir Kinchko.
I'm going for that one.
I'll second that. That's one of the worst I've ever heard.
I just wanted to quickly nominate Teddy Atlas. I know I said the commentary was good and it was entertaining. There's a lot of funny moments in it, but this was in the 6th round, about 30 seconds before Gamboa quit on his stool. There's one thing you should appreciate. He's got a lot of heart.
Happy to nominate Teddy then, Dave. I'll write him down. Who are you going for?
Vitamir
Kinchko. Donny, are you still there?
He's here to spin it.
Donny's gone for Vitamir Kinchko as well. I don't think you can do the applause, Andy, but congratulations, Robbie Ryan from Australia. You are the value of the week. Excellent stuff. Right, let's fire through a few more Twitter questions before we get out of here. There's 2.5 hours gone tonight. It's been another bumper show for you. Enjoying us at home on iTunes or listening live on the YouTube channel. Right, Tommy.
Oh yeah, baby. Deep throat me. Oh,
Andy's going into the love tunnel. Right, Tommy.
I thought you had Sergio Martinez Bosnia's booth there, man.
Liam Jordan's asked a question, Tommy. If Eddie Hearn was Ricky Hatton's promoter back in the day, would he have made Hatton versus Junior Witter the biggest grudge match in history at Wembley or another stadium to stage it?
No, because like back in the day, Sky wouldn't have wanted to fight. That's how it wasn't made. That's how it wasn't made back in the day.
It's a shame that one didn't come off, wasn't it? Who would you have gone for?
I'd have went with Hatton, but I thought what was pretty another way to fight.
You used to gaggle on fucking Hatton's balls, though, mate.
Hatton's. I'm a Ricky Hatton. I'm a Ricky Hatton fan. I picked Ricky Hatton to beat Floyd Mayweather. I picked Ricky Hatton to beat Manny Pacquiao. He was my guy, man. I'd have died for a hit, man. Took a bullet for him. But I think he'd have beat Junior Witter. And I do think Junior Witter was underrated.
I think he would have.
Yeah, I remember.
He was better than Witter, definitely.
Yeah.
So Steve. Oh, fucking hell.
His iPad crashed.
Well, when we get a couple of seconds, see if he can jump us back on the call. We've got to let Steve finish it off. I mean, you just really put me on the spot here, Steve. Come on, Steve, jump on.
Just talking about that.
There we go.
Just talking about that Witter fight and that. Warren was actually going to make it at one point on Sky, but Sky State didn't really make it.
Brutally KO'd there. That's, I think, the cue for us to get out of here. So let's ask these last couple of questions really quickly. Dave. Hey to Dave. Tell me about Anthony Joshua. Do you think he'll be leaving Hearn soon? Apparently, according to John Swan, Anthony Joshua has set up ASF Promotions alongside Say Alain and Fred Cunningham. This kind of sports management company. Could this be the end? Could they be leaving Eddie soon? They always do, don't they?
Well, they often kind of branch out on their own. But as you see with Floyd Mayweather, he legally promoted himself, but he was still under Heyman, and he still had to thank him every fight, like Heyman's little son. And same thing with Pacquiao. Pacquiao had I think Pac-Man Promotions, and he's still under Arum. A lot of times you see him sort of go halfway, where they have their own company and I guess make their own profit, sort of get a taste of management and the business scene, but ultimately leave a lot of the hype work to the man who's got them there in the first place. And I think at least at this point, Josh would be very well served to do that, because Eddie is British. I think that one of the biggest things is Eddie is British, and that's a huge deal. I think that if he were to sign with, say, Heyman or Arum or Oscar, they would be less careful with him. They would care less for him strictly because he's British and sort of like a rivalry to American heavyweights. I think that would be a factor.
And a question on the scoring from Michael. He says, if you get knocked down early in a round and the other fighter comes on strong and nothing is coming back, is it still a 10-8 round? What do you think?
Say that question again, mate.
If you get knocked down early in a round, but you come back and you come on strong later in the round, does it always automatically have to be a 10-8 round?
No, it could be a 10. It depends how you score a fight. So if you get knocked down and you come back in it like Klitschko did in the 5th round last week, you could conceivably say that it was a 10-9 round because the way he came back in it. But if you look at, for example, the De La Hoya Ike Quartet fight, when both were dropped in the same round, you could end up getting around 9-8. Maybe get around sometime, maybe give it 10-8 or whatever. That, but it depends on how your method of scoring is. So basically, if you score the fight, the guy gets knocked down, you call it your 10-9 and deduct the point towards the end of the fight, or you do what I do. I just call it 9-8 or whatever it is. Doesn't really matter. It's just how you score it. But if he comes back, you could conceivably call it 10-9.
Okay, final question to you, Tommy, from Joe O'Neill, former contributor, irishboxing.com journalist. He says, has there ever been, Tommy, a UK world champion who didn't win either a British, Commonwealth or European title on the way up? So he didn't win any of those titles on the way up. I think somebody threw Chris Eubanks Sr. into the mix here. I don't know if you have anyone to add.
I can't actually think off the top of my head.
Tough one, isn't it?
A British or a European title.
Did anyone win the world title without winning the British, Commonwealth, or European title on the way up? None. They went without winning any of those titles.
Oh, that's a good question. I was going to say Josh there, but he picked up the British, didn't he?
Honestly, can't think off the top of my head. But they're not taking Hara Davis out of it, are they? So you might be one.
Davis,
he might be one of the first.
O'Hara Davis could be one of the first. I've got a load of things coming in on Twitter.
What about Lee Haskins? Did he ever win the British and Commonwealth titles?
Oh, he was
Haskins,
British champion, wasn't he? Yeah.
Was he?
I remember him that Don Broadhurst fight, I think.
Oh, that's right. They were shit. That was a fucking shocking fight.
Yeah, just quickly flicking through Twitter before we go. McKetch has asked a question about Lucas Matthysse with his comeback win at 147. I think we pretty much went through that one, didn't we? Because we were talking about Danny Garcia and stuff. Michael Gearty says, would be great if Billy Joe Saunders fought anyone on this big undercard if he's still champion, but it's a next to zero chance that it happens. We agreed with that. Lestin Venables says, Frank Warren says he has exclusivity over Golden Boy cards. Okay, fair enough. Don't know about that. Just
interesting because the shows that the Sky are picking up for abroad are absolute shit. If it's no Sutherland or Joseph Parker, it's fucking nothing. It's AIDS. See their boxing content internationally is fucking deplorable.
Pretty poor stuff. Dave, final comments from you?
No, nothing really to add to what we've said already. I would say, actually, as much as I hated last night's event, the talk about Golovkin-Canelo has actually gotten me excited for it. It's a fight in which I don't know what's going to happen, and that's what we want in boxing. So yeah, I'm getting hyped for that. That's going to be good. I
honestly can't see how it'll feel to be a good fight, to be honest. And it's the biggest fight of the year. It doesn't matter what anybody says about Wembley. This is the biggest fight of the year. It's got to be the richest fight of the year as well.
Well said. I think we'll leave it on that point. The hater being positive is always a good place to leave it. Thanks to everyone who jumped on the call tonight. Tommy the Guru Allen, that you heard just right there, closing us out. Hater Dave Loback, Andy Patterson. Donny Baseball was on in spirit as well. Josh Teplow jumped on the call. Dominic Henry, Rob Kelly. And have I forgotten anybody? I think that's everybody, isn't it? Yeah, I think that was everybody.
Big Russ.
Oh, Big Russ as well. Yes, got a bit Big Russ. Sorry, Russ. We'll get you on next week. Thanks to everyone for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and like the Facebook page. Everyone's loving the Facebook page at the moment. All the value of the weeks, all the screenshots go up on there at some point during the week. So we'll speak to you all next week. Thank you.
Sweet.